start the broadcast.
Here we go, legendary scroll.
Legendary scroll. Oh boy. I think we're in it. Yeah, we're in the thick of it now, dude.
Yeah, I got nothing on that.
Okay. All right, everybody, welcome to Coffee with Crows. I'm your host, Frank, with my other host, Brad, and we're going to be talking
Co-host,
about
right?
humor and being offended by it.
Don't don't
Or
be.
or we'll just talk about humor. I don't know. We'll play this one by ear, I
Wasn't gonna
guess.
say we're not gonna talk humorously. We're not. It doesn't. Don't be confused by the title. No one said this is gonna be funny. We're just gonna talk about humor.
Well, it could be funny. It depends on your type of humor, but
Yeah, it's funny to me.
mm-hmm.
No, I was thinking a lot about humor when I was doing the dishes today. Humor is like what do we classify humor as? It's not an emotion. It's like a
I think it
what would
is
you?
sort of an emotion. It's sort of like you can't believe what you're seeing, you know.
Well, I was thinking humor is the one thing that touches on almost every other emotion. You can have humor in fear, and you can have humor in love, and you can have humor in anger. Like you have humor everywhere. Humor is one of those things that's really it can be in any situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally be anywhere, and humor can still happen. You know?
Obviously, yeah, it can.
So maybe when you're frightened to death, when you can't even move, you're so scared you can't even move. I don't know if you can experience humor then. But
No, not typically, no.
if you get past that frightened thing, you're like psychotic, and psychotic people tend to laugh. So I
You
mean,
know, I've
yeah,
known.
maybe that's like why they're psychotic. They've added humor into the fear factor.
I guess so. No, I've seen some people laugh when they're scared though. I've seen this, and it's creepy as fuck when you see this stuff. They start laughing and they're like, ha ha ha. It just.
Nobody laughs like that.
I don't want to name any names right now, but nobody you know. But I've seen this before, and when I watched it, I was like, "What is going on?" So wait, we're not talking about evil humor, are we? The cackling and all that. We're basically talking about being offended by humor but we could
You
talk
chose.
about other stuff
You
too. I mean,
chose. Oh, so you want to be? We're talking about offensive humor.
yeah, is
Is that
humor
our?
like how far can you go with humor before it's offensive? Because it seems like when I grew up, almost like the sky was the limit for the most part in all different kinds of fields, depending upon what you wanted to have. Now,
Well,
it
no,
seems like,
that's not true. Sky was never the limit.
well, pretty close. I mean, compared to now, it seemed.
Well, and that's the thing. Before, when you had Charlie Chaplin, and you had the Three Stooges,
That's what I'm
later,
saying. Like the Three Stooges. I mean, they'd hit each
it was
other.
it was more
You can't have
you
that
know
now.
physical kind of humor. Well, you could have the Three Stooges, but you can't have that on random people.
Well, it was slapstick, yeah. But I mean, you don't see that anymore. You can't, like, that is considered, I don't know, it's considered abusive, offensive, I'm not sure. But, like, you don't see that anymore. You really don't. The last I remember of that was Animaniacs. You know, when we grew up with some of the cartoons, Bugs Bunny, and all that sort of stuff.
Pinky in the Brain.
Huh?
Pinky in the Brain. I got a piece of tobacco. Yeah. Went right through my pipe into my mouth. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy that.
Is it going to come out your ear?
Oh, it's gonna come out somewhere. Not sure which hole.
Okay, well, this should be a a spectacle to see in case it happens.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to just cut base on humor specifically about. I mean, we can definitely talk about offensive humor and how comedians have it much more, you know, I wouldn't say they necessarily have it more difficult. They're saying they have it more difficult in the sense, but you just have to think, well, no, I think comedy was always difficult, and now I mean
Well,
these
yeah.
comedians nowadays say this, like they were saying, with Kevin Hart, the whole point of being a comedian is pushing the boundaries.
Hmm.
But that's not it wasn't always true. There was a time in comedy when it was just about being creative. And, like I said, with Charlie Chaplin, you can still watch those videos, and even though they're 1920s or whenever exactly, you'll start to laugh. You start to watch the scenario. He gets put himself in these scenarios, and then, I mean, it's humorous. It hasn't necessarily, but like, all right, here's a good one. Knock
You know,
knock jokes.
I kind of see
Are
that though.
knock knock jokes no longer funny? They
No.
at one point in time they were funny, and I was talking to a 60-year-old guy about knock knock jokes just the other day, and he was like, "Oh no, they're still funny. They're still funny." And
So
I'm
you're saying
thinking
it's a
like,
generational thing? Because I mean, if you look at like Bob Hope and you know Bing Crosby and that sort of stuff, I mean, they didn't really have anything that offensive. Maybe at their time it was, but you look at it now, it does. It looks pretty mild. Is it that like we've gone? Do we get a little more wild every time with humor over the years? Is
well,
that
that's what I mean.
do we get to such a point that
Humor
we're
truly
so
evolves.
huh?
Humor evolves. Humor evolves.
Hmm.
And that's then you have to start to wonder if every emotion evolves. Because people always like, what is love? And you can describe
Baby, don't
love
hurt
and,
me.
and this and that, but maybe love, maybe you shouldn't ask your parents what love is, because in their time, love is actually something much different than what, excuse me, love is right now. So yeah, no, it's interesting to think about. But yeah, I kind of think humor has evolved. I was saying, what did I tell you the other day, that I feel like I don't know the exact year and I don't have an exact movie or anything like that, but I feel like by 2010, humor hit its high point in our society. We were saying things that were just outlandishly funny, and I mean, you can say they're also borderline wrong. But isn't it weird how people like Kevin Hart and Sarah Silverman get attacked on stuff they said 7 years ago, but Dave Chappelle remains like unscathed, and
Well,
and
yeah,
Dave
because he's
Chappelle,
got
maybe it's
he
because
he's
he
got
said, "Oh, I don't want to do this," and,
the way he
you know,
presents it is sometimes it's self-deprecating to the point that you got to laugh at it. A lot of humor that ends up becoming self-deprecating, it's targeted towards the person making a joke about society standards, and people just kind of get along with it. But if you make a joke about a different person other than yourself, you're not included in it. You can
that's a
break
good
the
way to put
dam.
it too. Society standards. When you make a joke about society standards, it's not necessarily the same thing as making a joke exactly how you personally feel. So, things like Kevin Hart saying that stuff, should he take down these tweets from 7 or 8 years ago? No, because 7 or 8 years ago they were true. If you take down that stuff, you're almost getting rid of history.
Well,
And we've
yeah,
proven that that's not a good thing. You don't want to get rid of history. You want history to remain
yeah. You don't
where it
want to
is
burn the
and
books.
proper.
You want people to see the
Right.
books. You know.
We need to know that 7 years ago things like that were said, and then 7 years later, we've kind of evolved past that being necessarily humorous. The problem is that I think 95% of the people still think it's humorous. Like,
Probably, I think
nobody,
a lot of people
and
just.
it's like certain people are very, very offended by it, and
I mean, you look at some new comedians that they have now that literally throw everything to the wind, like Anthony Jeselnik. I mean, you watch his skit, you watch some of his stuff. Some of his stuff, he goes really far out there. You know.
I'm not like a comedian expert. I do know who Anthony Jeselnik is, and I've seen him a few times. I think I saw him on like a roasting once, and I just thought like, this guy's a dick. Like this
Yeah,
guy's
he
a
is.
dick.
He
I
is,
mean,
but he's kind of
and
funny with that.
there's like, I guess there's a thin line between that, being a dick and being funny. Can you go against the majority and still be considered funny? Well, that's the thing. There's so many people in the world right now that if you have 49% of the people like you might not be majority, but you still have a very, very strong following. You can still make a lot of, Pepsi or Coke. They're both making money,
Yeah.
you
Coke's
know.
typically the winner, but Pepsi's still right
But
there.
I was actually, it was weird the other day. We say Coke's the winner, but I seem to see Pepsi everywhere more than Coke nowadays.
Maybe Pepsi's taken over, but
I,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
everybody knows Coke tastes better than Pepsi, and if I'm saying it
Well,
right now,
I've always liked Pepsi
comment
over
below if you
Coke.
don't agree. You can argue all you want, but Coke tastes better than Pepsi. I'm
Not
just
to
telling
me.
you,
Not
it's
to me.
better.
The cherry Coke, yes, but the regular Coke, no. But anyways, the point is like we could talk about Dave Chappelle.
Where's the
Where
end transmission here? I'm done with you. Sorry. I mean,
screw you.
it's called Captain and Coke. There's no drink in the world called like whiskey and Pepsi.
That's what I
You know?
do. I don't get Coke for that. I get Pepsi.
Ugh, ugh. It's like I get diabetes.
Coke
Sorry,
has
that's
more
not funny.
syrup than Pepsi does. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Coke is
I like my
like,
Coke.
but I mean, dude,
What are
look
we
at
having tonight? What are we drinking tonight? What are we drinking tonight? Coffee? What's in that? What's
got a
in the
little
mug?
bit,
Coffee.
a little bit. Then I've got I got reserves. Oh, okay. That's where we're going. All right. I'll have to get prepared.
Reserves. What are you drinking?
I got beer in the fridge.
Oh, okay. What kind of
Those are
beer?
my reserves. Well, I have wine too, but that's too it'd be too acidic right now. I had Chinese earlier. It doesn't work well.
Tell you what, if you switch over to wine, let me know. I'll switch with you.
No, I'm not doing that tonight. Not tonight.
I only have a bottle of Merlot. I do have a bottle of Chardonnay, but it's not cold, so I'm not about to drink that.
Yeah. Yeah, but dude, what about like Dave Chappelle and that sort of stuff? Because I mean, Dave Chappelle's pretty awesome. I mean, you
Dave
look at some of his
Chappelle
skits, like
made
the one he did about the Ku Klux Klan, and if anybody else did that, oh God, would they have hell to pay?
all right.
But
So
that
no,
was really funny though. It
I
was
disagree with you on this. I think if anybody else did it the exact same way that he did it, still would have been funny.
okay, but
I
they
do.
might have taken some repercussions for it. Maybe I don't know. We just
But the reason that it was funny was because Dave has a way. He's just a great actor. I mean, you can't be a comedian that's not a good actor. You
Yeah.
have to know how to, because if you're trying to impersonate another race, you better really, really feel it when you're trying to impersonate that other race. Because if you're just gonna be, oh, I like chicken fried rice, it's not gonna work. You have to really, really feel it.
Yeah.
That was me trying not to be a good Asian, by the way.
you have to dig in with your heels. Yeah,
And
I
it's
get
called
you.
fried rice. So,
No, I get you. But
but
I mean, what?
you have to commit. You have to commit, and Dave commits, and that's why I think he was so funny. But remember what happened to him. He eventually went to Africa, and I think the main reason, maybe I'm mistaken, was because he started to feel that his race jokes were actually creating more racial tension. And what did he do when he came back? He got back into comedy and was racist as ever, So he realized, like, no, what people want, I'm going to make the profit on it because I'm good at it. And people are just born racist. I don't know if I agree with all that, but
I think
we're not born racist, but we see color, and race is a huge factor in comedy a lot of times.
I don't think
Race,
everything
gender,
is like
race and gender.
I just don't think everything is racist in that sense. I think it's sometimes you could make fun of your own race as a joke to lighten things up.
Well,
Sometimes
he lays into his own race more than any other race for sure.
But I'm just saying, like if you like, I worked at a cemetery in the past, and I think I probably told you this joke before. I probably didn't tell a lot of other people, but there was all these different mics that were in the room. There were 5 different mics. There was like probably 3 or 4 of them there.
Michaels or microphones?
Mike, a guy's named Mike. Tall Mike, short Mike, fat Mike, and weird Mike or something. I don't remember.
I'm talking about fat Mike.
Oh. I'm just saying, like they were all there, and we're all in the lunchroom. We're all eating.
Big boned Mike.
And we got a coffin that was FedExed over to us from a different state, and it was in the middle of the room while we're eating, and we're sitting on lawnmowers or we're just sitting on chairs, and then one of the mics just walks up, he walks up to the coffin and he goes, "Wake up!" And he just walks away, and it's just like, that's really morbid humor. It's like complete disrespect to what's going on. But what he ended up doing is he lightened up the situation, because we were all sitting there in this somber feel, like looking at this coffin, just thinking about who this person was, and feeling bad and all that. He did something that you would think is completely disrespectful, but he got us all to laugh, and he just turned the whole situation around to bring some livelihood to it. So it just makes me wonder sometimes. I think some offensive humor, if you get through it, it could actually lighten up the mood, and that's why I think some of it.
You bring up a good point. Someone who does not probably work with, the deceased would not make that joke, because they would feel,
Yep.
when you're around, it's the same thing with like race. You kind of have to experience racism to really be able to make the joke about racism. If you never experienced it, you think, oh, they're just egging it on. It's the same thing, and that's what I mean. Like, you can't, it's hard, it's easier to, and then comedians will say that I have to experience it. I'm not being a comedian. I'm just telling my experiences. It's your choice if you think it's funny or not. And that's kind of like, you have to actually be around it for it to be funny, and you think somebody who somebody just passed away, if that were the same situation, they'd probably be like, that's not funny, but it's like, well, you're not around this 100 times a day. It is to us, so, comedy, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but comedy is a viewpoint for different people, we have our own specific comedies about gaming, and that's why I think, like, comedy is subjective, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting though. Like Anthony Jeselnik, he only got to do like 1 episode of a TV series, because he put in their shark party, where somebody was eaten by a shark, and then he wanted to have like women dancing around with shark. I didn't get to see it, but apparently he wanted to kind of like use the guy's death as a joke, to make a joke about sharks eating people, because he has got a good respect for sharks. So that didn't go over well, and I think sometimes you can probably go too far. You're trying to like use someone, because I think that's where a lot of comedians go wrong. They try to use one person as an influence for their joke that they don't really know, or it just seems like it's like they're getting targeted. It's like they're not trying to find a way to lighten the situation. They're kind of, and I think that's where he kind of went wrong with that.
Right, I suppose like it's the exact opposite in that sense. A person who's a deep sea diver who's lost numerous friends to sharks might suddenly be like, I don't think this is funny. The opposite of being funny is being like serious.
Well,
so
obviously.
I guess that's. Is it so obvious? I felt real profound there when I initially.
It's
said
pretty
that,
obvious, dude. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious.
Put that in the BC quote bank. The opposite of being funny is being serious.
The BC boob bank.
The BC. I didn't say boob. Is that what did I
I
say?
heard you say the BC Boob
Quote bank.
Bank.
I think I said quote bank.
I thought you said Boob Bank. That sounds better.
Some people just can't think anything's funny either. You know, there's some people who don't think anything's funny, and you meet these
Well,
people where it
I
doesn't
think,
matter,
and
it's
yeah,
not funny.
it came around when the whole thing about cringe came out. Because as soon as people started talking about cringe, they started thinking like everything is cringe. There's no humor. Anytime somebody tries to make humor, unless it's completely deadpan, which I actually do appreciate that humor, it's cringe. But there's all different kinds of humor. There's zany, there's unconventional, which is basically improv. You've got the deadpan, you've got the witty. What else? You got sarcasm. I mean, you've got all types of humor, really. I appreciate pretty much all of them, you know? But I think it's wrong when you try to, like, you might not appreciate a particular kind of humor, but I don't think you should completely discard it or, you know, tell people they can't have that. Unless it's, I don't know. I guess blatant morbid humor would probably not be very tasteful for most people, but I don't know what to say.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think I think humor is just one of those things, like a lot of things that if you don't think it's funny, I mean, all right, here's an example. There's a guy who goes to these vegan meetings. He's like, not, they're out there trying to, you know, promote veganism, if that's a term. And this guy just goes and eats raw beef hearts at these meetings. Like, he's just out there just eating raw beef. I personally don't think it's that funny. I mean, I literally do not like the idea of being a vegan, you know, but I just think that, you know, you should have the right to, you know, if you're trying to make a demonstration, it should be peaceful. And I think that if you're going there just to create, you know, views and all that, it's really not that. So I don't personally think it's funny. And I think, like, you know, 4,000 other people dislike that video.
I
But
don't think you
like,
can create, I don't think humor comes from trying to purposely create anger or angst, like
well,
tension like that.
but you're wrong there. Some people think it's funny when other people get angry. They think it's funny to enrage other people. They enjoy it. I mean, we have how many videos?
I think if it's in a setting where the person knows it's going to happen, you know, it's like they know that, you know, this could get picked on a little bit and then they're kind of prepared for it. But if you just shock somebody with something to try to create anger and then somebody else laughs off of that, that's like that's a whole different story. I mean, if like if somebody tries to bully somebody else into doing something or because they did something and then somebody else laughs, you know, for the bully that's bullying the victim purposefully, I mean, yeah, they think it's funny, but I don't think that's even remotely good.
Well, and that's the whole, you know, political. I mean, you have this whole political humor going on right now.
I mean, I think it's really situational. It really depends. Like if a
Because
person tried to be nasty, you know.
Trump is a witty type person, and not everybody finds witty humor funny. But some people think he's hysterical. I mean, some people just think Trump is the funniest guy in the world.
Well, I think he's
And
probably the funniest president that I've seen. I mean, the things he says,
yeah, that we lived through.
it's just it's almost it's just it's comical just because it's just because of
Do you
the way
remember
it's
the
presented.
time Jim Acosta made this video that was like, you know, we're at the wall here. We don't see anybody coming in. You know, this is all fake news. That there's really people at the border trying to really get in. And he tells Trump that in a press conference. He's like, "Did you see the did you see the video that we don't have all these people here?" He's like, I went to the wall and I showed you that there's nobody even trying to get in. Trump's just like, that's because there's a wall there. Like, it, It's like, dude, I mean, he does make a good point. You went to the area, go to the area where there's not a wall and see if there's people trying to get in. Don't go to the area where there is a wall and then try to tell us we don't need a wall because there's no, I mean, he makes a good point. Like,
Well, if you make
but
yourself look stupid, then yeah, you'll get laughed at.
Everything that Obama had said was, as I understand it, like very well scripted, and that's how we've always considered presidents. Oh, everything they say is already rehearsed.
Well, that's the reason why Trump is kind of funny, and he's not always funny, but there's times he says things. It's just like, okay, duh, yeah, everybody should get this. But when Obama would say things, or when Bush would say things, or Clinton would say things, it was very scripted. You could tell just the way they were saying it. They had it written down beforehand what they wanted to say. They got to say it. They barely ever went off of their own type of improv. And if they tried to, it looked forced. It didn't look like they really knew how to do it. That's the reason why most politicians, they look like they got a stick up their ass, because they don't have their own they won't bring out their own personality because of fear that they're going to say something stupid and everybody's going to be right on top of them. The thing is, Trump will say as many stupid things as he wants to, and and then
later redact them and say, I never said that. I never said what it's going to be made out of. And then they show like 40 clips. It's going to be made out of cement, thick concrete. Like I never said how the wall was going to be made. Dude, yes, you did, dude. I mean, people are not putting words in your mouth.
We're going to make it out of straw, and we're going to fill it with bird shit and cement.
I mean, but and then you get that factor. I mean, there's people who actually made outfits that look like walls, and
where's this?
I mean, oh, you can find them. They look like brick, like they look like bricks. They wear these outfits that look like brick walls, and they're against it. They're more against it than they are for it.
Oh,
but I mean, it's just, yeah, comedy disguises things too. Something that's could be very, very very serious.
There's a lot of times I'll make jokes that are pretty witty, but it'll have a double meaning. You can figure out both meanings. It's kind of like I'm making kind of a smart joke, that it's.
I don't know. I've never heard you make a witty joke before.
No, you've just never gotten them.
Good. That might be the first one I ever heard. Yeah, to be witty, you really have to slow down time in your mind and be able to actually come up with something that's creative. I'm what they call like a witty failure. I attempt to be witty, but I fail. I say the stupidest stuff, and everyone's like, "What?" Then I have like 40 more seconds of me trying to.
Then you're like Trump and you backpedal,
or like, yeah.
You're like Trump and you backpedal. You're like, I never said that. I've never said that before in my life.
But I didn't.
No, there's a lot of times I'll think of some stupid jokes and I'll say them too. I don't know, it just happens. But
I mean, I can recall those. So your stupid jokes.
Oh, you can. Oh, absolutely. Here, how about we go over all of them? We'll see what you remember. Because I can't remember my jokes, and mostly it's all improv, so I don't try to remember anything. Just, like that. I'll think of it and say it.
I live in the moment. I still personally, as I've said it before, I think that the funniest joke in the world is why is 6 afraid of 7.
7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9. I think that's the funniest joke.
That's a nice, clean joke, and it puts a smile on my face, but I'm not going to crack up. It's a good joke still,
Well, that's the knock-knock jokes, I was reading knock-knock jokes. I wish I could quote some of them, but, I mean, I can't think of any right now.
It was one of my favorite things to do when I was younger with jokes? Do you remember Mad Lib?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Would I go to town with that thing?
You're one of those guys. I never got into Mad Lib because I was always like, people just put stupid stuff on purpose. So it's not that funny to me. Mad
Well,
Lib is kind of funny when multiple people do it together. Like
well,
you have
yeah,
to actually
that's
go,
what I
you have
do
to
with.
actually go
I,
through, be like, say, give me a noun, give me a verb, you know, and that could be a little bit funny. That's like Whisper Down the Alley, you know. You ever
Mhm.
play that game? Is that I don't know if that's that, you know, where you say a
I
phrase to the next person and the next
I don't
person
know.
says it to the next
Maybe
person.
it's like I might have heard it or the concept of it, but go over it. Which is like, is it like telephone in that sense?
Maybe you say a sentence to the next person quietly, and the next person whispers to the next person like 10 people later, and then the last person repeats the sentence, and it's always like completely different than the like everybody got all the words all messed up, and
Yeah,
I
that's
mean
like the humor.
that's a great example of everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's everything, you know. I mean somebody has a joke. What was that? Sarah Silverman had that joke. I can't quote it right now because I can't remember it, but it was like something about abortion or something like that, and people just got really in an uproar. And it was like, you know, it is funny. It was funny. I don't even think Sarah Silverman's that funny. Speaking of unfunny comedians, you know, who's your least favorite comedian?
Least favorite comedian? I don't know. I was watching. I wouldn't say he's the least favorite, but uh, well, there was a guy on Netflix, and I think his name was Brian something, and he just wasn't all that funny. I actually watched this guy that was just on right just lately. Probably pop it up and look at it, but this guy, I was trying to laugh at some of his stuff. He didn't he just didn't have anything that was. Oh, Sebastian
Oh
Maniscalco.
yeah, the person that Netflix is advertising right now.
Yeah, and so that's what's going to get this video demonetized and barred from the outlying countries of United States because I just dissed him because I didn't find him all that funny. He seemed like he's trying to be like
Yeah.
a stage actor,
Dissing him
and
and stating your opinion are two different things here, but apparently it's not when it comes down to monetizing. It's
not with
not.
YouTube. No, I mean they're even going to take away the ability for tweets and for other things on YouTube now. They're literally like chaining off and barring their whole system from other systems now. And I
So
think that's the whole reason behind a lot of this offensive humor, because too many people are getting too offended. They're in different countries. They don't understand the dialect. They don't understand the type of person, and it's like, nope, can't have it here. I don't know. That's what I think it is, but I mean, I'm not totally sure. I think it's possibly
well, I
that.
mean, you have to remember that T Series does have almost as many subscribers as PewDiePie. So I mean, there is obviously a large group of people that seem to be Indian that like that use YouTube anyway. So I mean, you're gonna have people all around the world, yeah, that are this isn't, excuse me,
Hmm.
just English speaking content.
Yeah, I mean, I
Extra.
I kind of thought the guy might be funny to start watching it, but then I don't know, just like nothing that he said was even remotely funny after a while. I even watched this other guy named Todd Glass, who was kind of funny to start, but then as he got
I
going,
think I watched them a little bit. Yeah,
it totally just faded. Like he could make
well,
this
as I said
basic humor,
before,
but then there was.
I feel like since 2010, you had these comedians that were just super super funny in the 90s and the 2000s.
I think because they
That
refined their skills at that point, don't you think, or what? What? Or
well, all right, like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey strives to play roles that are not his usual role, and personally, I don't even think he's as funny in them. Some people do, like, oh no, Jim Carrey's a multi-talented actor, and I mean, now this is non-monetized. Now this is getting demonetized. We can say whatever we want.
I'm not
We
gonna
can.
say anything seriously against Jim Carrey. I like the guy, but I
No,
think
no, I love Jim Carrey.
I
I
think
love
I
Jim
think there's
Carrey.
some I think
I
there's
think
some the one where he had the other personality I didn't enjoy. The one
Did you ever see the video where
Ace
Jim Carrey
Ventura
made to
was
Kate
good, but it
Stone
wasn't that. What?
or Emma Stone? Did you ever see the video where Jim Carrey made to, I think her name was Emma Stone, the redhead chick from Superbad? I think that. Oh my gosh, look that up one time.
I can't
Jim
remember that
Carrey
right now.
made the it was just a video. He made the creepiest video that was just like he's like basically like if you were way older or I was way younger, like we'd be together. Like he said all. I mean, I'm not quoting him. But he said the creepiest stuff in this video. It was so funny. I mean, obviously it was a joke. Maybe he was just trying to help out her career. I don't necessarily know. Anyway, my least favorite comedian would be Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer made one thing that I thought was funny in life, and that was that Milk Milk Lemonade song. Not even sure if she actually did it herself,
I want to
but
see the movie
everything
she was
else,
in. You know that movie that she made? That
yeah.
the other
I can't quote it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
older actress from Overboard was in? The original Overboard? So I went to see the movie. They had this whole little spiel before they even started the movie to promote the movie we were going to see. I was like, well, you don't really need to do that. I mean, I'm just going to watch it. I watched the movie.
Was it a joke that was just like whatever, or was it?
It was like for her and I think it was it Goldie Hawn or was it, who the hell was that? Can't remember the name. Could be. But they made a little promo before the movie to promote the movie we were just about to see, which made no sense. That okay? I watched the movie and it was okay, but it was just like her comedic presence was just they tried to put action in there to such a degree that it looked more like an action than anything like a comedy. And there wasn't like there was a couple parts that would make you smile, but nothing in the movie made me laugh at all. Like she didn't like find a way to present herself in a funny way. It was mostly just very basic, but I mean, it's just like, it's very basic jokes that, people that aren't comedians, would try to say or emulate, like some of the dumb shit we say. It was just very basic, stupid shit that even we say.
Did you ever watch any of the things where Amy Schumer steals all her jokes? Those YouTube videos?
She stole a bunch of jokes from YouTube videos?
Dude, no. Watch the videos where Amy Schumer's jokes were like jacked. Like she stole these jokes from people.
Really? I never saw that.
Oh, dude, there's 4 different videos from somebody. It is literally like it'll disgust you when you realize like this has to be true. Like you can tell just by the camera footage that these jokes came out before she made them. And she jacks jokes. There's no question about it. She can say, no, I don't care. Well, if you don't steal them, then somebody who's writing comedian relief stuff for you should probably just admit it. But I mean, dude, it's horrible. Like,
wait, so she admitted to that?
No, I mean, dude, they had a skit that she did on her show. I don't want to get into all the different things, but they had a skit where she did in a show where she was picking out clothes and this black person helped her out, and the person was like, did you find everything okay? And she's like, yeah. Did they help you out? And she's like, yeah, this person bottom lunch. And she was like, he was the person in the vest. And they're like, oh, everybody has a vest. And she's like, it's the person. And she's like, who probably would have voted for Obama. And she was like saying all these different things. And then they showed the Mad Real World skit like 10 years before that. The exact same scenario. I mean, you can't deny it. Mad Real World came out before. It was, and I was never a big fan of Mad Real World. TV Funhouse, I am a big fan of the Ambiguously Gay Duo. I still watch those skits.
That was
I don't
good.
know. Some things in Mad Real World were funny. I mean, what was his name? The guy who, I'm talking about, always act like a baby.
Oh, yeah.
He's like crying and all this. And then and Pat, you remember Pat?
Oh
They
yes,
weren't sure if it was a man or
it's
a woman.
Pat. But like now, some people
You
might
couldn't
think
even.
that's
That's probably like taken off the internet. You probably can't even find that anymore because people are so offended. But it's like, you know what? That's actually helping your point. That's actually like supporting your
what was it?
cause.
What was the
Like,
part? What was the part in that where they're asking Pat? They're like, well, oh, it was a haircut. They're like, well, okay, we just gave you a haircut. It's $5 for boys and $8 for girls. And then Pat gives him a 20. He's like, keep the change, something like that. And they're trying to figure. It's like everybody's trying to figure it out, and they can't figure it out.
it's Pat. That's me. Yeah, there were some funny skills. I mean, Mad
Will
TV.
Ferrell was
You know,
still my favorite for that whole thing though. The what was the one? It was like he was playing Anchorman, but it wasn't Anchorman yet. He was the one character persona that would
was
act
that on
like
Mad TV?
it was sort of like how they brought out the Old Spice commercials. It was sort of based upon that. Like he was sitting in a car, and a like a caribou would come up to him, and he'd feed the caribou some cereal or something like that. It was just really weird and out there. Remember that sketch that he
I
did
don't
in
think I do
SNL?
actually. I'll have to check this out. I like Will Ferrell.
Oh, I can't remember what the name of it
I
was
like Will
though.
Ferrell because
I mean,
he's
the
to the
Jeopardy was
core funny.
awesome. The Jeopardy that he had was just pretty much the bomb.
Oh, you talking about
When he
gosh,
played Alex
Saturday Night
Trebek.
Live. That was a Saturday Night Live skit.
No, he did the whole Jeopardy thing.
Yeah, but that
Remember?
was on Saturday Night Live.
Yes, yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live was. I mean, Saturday Night Live really. I don't watch him anymore now, and it's a shame because maybe I could think some. I don't have cable, but maybe I could think some of them are funny. You know, like, but like Keenan Thompson and stuff like that. I don't know. I always thought Kel Mitchell was the funnier one on Keenan and Kel. Keenan's not. It's not that he's not funny. I think he can be funny, but I think that he tries to be too politically correct to be funny. I think if you get involved in the political correctness, you like can't actually be funny because if you don't try to offend somebody,
Well,
you're not. You know.
when you what the way life is now is people turn politics into religion, and usually you can't insult religion, and so now because things are linked to politics, and it's like a religion, like the comedy has slowly kind of died down because it's like, well, we can't talk about this, otherwise we're gonna make some enemies here,
Right.
and
Right. But you almost have. That's what I'm saying. You almost when you have Trump who had 49% of the votes and Clinton who had 51% of the votes, you're still getting a couple million people on both sides. You have to almost accept that you cannot make comedy cannot make everyone happy.
no, and
Maybe it could back in the day. Maybe those, like I said, the days of Charlie Chaplin and stuff like that. Maybe everybody thought that was fun, but you know what? Probably not. Probably the hardcore people in the military probably thought Charlie Chaplin wasn't funny. They're probably like, no, he's just a goof off who doesn't, do enough in society and this and that, and who knows?
oh yeah, well the
I'm
thing is,
sure that.
comedy makes fun of a scenario or a situation or something, but comedy is always somewhat uh, offensive. It could be potentially somewhat offensive to somebody or something. It always is. It's either to yourself or someone else or a group or something. That's what comedy is based on. If you don't have any comedy, you just have a world of robots. Really do. Like you got everybody constantly agreeing with each other all the time,
Well, that's like
and
Jerry
that
Seinfeld. I thought the Seinfeld show, and I wish I could remember what's his name who wrote that.
I don't know.
I can never. I should have looked up, but he has Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I can't think of what his name ever is.
Oh, my friend really liked
But
Seinfeld a lot. I'd watch it sometimes, but I wasn't.
I mean, come on, Seinfeld is just they
I'd
really
watch it,
mastered the
but I'd
idea of
watch it, but it was
but
the thing is, it didn't have all
they
the.
mastered the idea of within 30 minutes, you start out with a situation and all these different things can conspire. And at the end of the situation, it loops back around. I mean, that's how stand-up comedy is nowadays. They love to go back to their original joke that they said, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he tied that into that. And it's but Jerry Seinfeld was the master at doing that. I mean, again, maybe it wasn't him all writing it, but everybody says Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal with airline peanuts? And that's, to me, that is such a small piece. Like, you never watched the Soup Nazi episode?
Oh yeah, that was one of the best ones that they actually had.
I mean, the Soup Nazi was one of the best ones, or
no
or
soup
even,
for you. It just falls away.
But at the end of the episode, you remember what happened? Like, Kramer's like, no, I know a guy who's selling, selling like furniture, and Elaine needed furniture.
Always doing that kind of stuff.
Elaine needed furniture, and she opens up the furniture and finds all of his recipes. And like, instead of just like giving him back or anything like that, because he was such a dick, she comes up. She's like, like shrimp bisque, like reading off the rest of 1 cup onions. He's like, that's my recipe. She's like, that's right. You're finished, Soup Nazi. No soup for you. Like, but I just love that when they're standing in line, he goes, I didn't get my biscuit. Or he's like, I didn't get my bread. Just forget it. Just forget it. Keep moving. He's like, no, I didn't get my bread. Like, he gets banned from the restaurant for like 3 weeks just because
we got banned for life.
Just because he asked for his bread. No, because he's like, no, I want my bread. And he like kept arguing about it. And he's like, told him, he's like 3 weeks, no soup for you. And he's like, what? And I remember he like comes up like
see, that's situational humor. That's right. That's situational humor that just happens at the moment, and that's pretty good too. That's not even remotely offensive.
There was an episode where they like got into a business where they were buying muffins, and they're like, who eats the bottom part of a muffin? They're like, we're just gonna sell the tops of the muffins, the best part. They're like, forget the bottom part.
Why not?
Nobody wants it. So they donate the bottom parts of the muffin to the homeless, and the homeless are like, we don't want these. These are just the bottoms of the muffin. They're like, but it's.
I can't even accept it.
Like, who do you think we are? Like we're just the bottom parts of the muffin. And I'm thinking, like, honestly, like, I like the bottom part of a muffin. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I do too. But
that's what makes it, I don't know.
Oh, since we're on sitcoms, did you like Mork and Mindy?
Well, that's like Mork as in Robin Williams. Yeah, I was waiting to get to Robin Williams because that's a whole long. I didn't watch too much.
I liked it when I was a kid. I can't say I can remember a ton of it, but I just know that it was such a good show to watch. It was a good feel, comedy to watch.
Well, again, so you're getting into the Happy Days era. Happy Days.
That's more closer to 70s.
Laverne and Shirley. Well, Mork was a character off of Happy Days, right?
Was that more canned humor, though? Because I know a lot of those older sitcoms, they had canned laughter that they put into there, I think. I don't know if they had real, or am I thinking of this wrong? But I don't think they had live people there. I think they just had
that's what all of it was. That's what I mean. Happy Days
started it. So they all did that? Oh, wait. No, Happy Days was live, right?
Happy Days always said, produced in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, okay.
And then Happy Days, they had Jody Loves Chachi was a sub off of that. The Mork and Mindy show was a sub off of that.
Wait, I never got how Mork and Mindy was a sub off of Happy Days.
Shirley was a sub off of that because Mork appeared on every once in a while. I'm pretty sure that was the
on
same
Happy Days.
I'm almost positive.
With the Fonz?
Yeah, I can Google it on my phone to make sure.
Okay, all right. It's been such a long time since I've seen any of that. I remember it, but I don't remember it that well. So
Mork and
besides,
Mindy spin off from Happy Days. The
wow,
character then known as Robin Williams' first Happy Days season was my favorite work in 1960s. Oh, which
19.
was taken from a 1960 sitcom, My Favorite Martian. So it was a character based off of another character from earlier.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean that's what I mean. Like, I love spin-offs. I think spin-offs are the most fun thing to.
Okay, which one did you like better then for spin-offs? Cheers or Frasier?
All right. See, now that's very selective because Frasier I grew up watching with my mom when I was little,
Hmm.
and Cheers I never watched until Netflix 2 years ago.
Okay.
Like, um, I mean, when I was younger, I really didn't get too many of the Frasier jokes. Um, I don't. I'd have to rewatch Frasier now.
See,
I'll tell you what,
I
though.
still like, I like
I like
Frasier more.
Frasier in Frasier more than, but Frasier in Cheers is kind of an annoyance. The Frasier
Yes.
from Cheers was
Yes.
annoying. He
Yeah.
was a bother. And maybe that's just because you always want
Well,
the woman and the main guy to get together, and you're like
I think
Frasier's in
because
the
of the
way.
setting and the scenario of being in the bar and the bar type of people, and he just doesn't fit in there because he's trying to like help them, where they're trying to literally just drink their problems away. That's what, I mean, that's
Right.
basically what that's about. And I mean, when you go into Frasier, I mean, he still does drink, but he's got, it's like his own environment, you know? People come into his environment, so because
Right.
it's like it's a clash of style. That's how I see it. But you know, when I watched it in Cheers, it was annoying to see him. I wasn't too into Cheers when I was growing up. Like a lot of people keep telling me, like you got to watch Cheers. I did, but the thing is, like I don't know if it's because I'm not on the East Coast that I didn't appreciate it as much. I mean, I've got friends that and family that do like it more, but I just never really got into it. It just
I could understand why somebody did. It got a little dragged out. I mean, I actually stopped watching it by like the fourth season or so. It just it was repetitive. It's repetitive. People go to a bar, some kind of problem happen. I mean, there are funny moments. There's always funny moments, that happen. But
I don't know if it's because I go to a bar myself on the regular that
that could be. That very well could
it's
be.
like I see this stuff.
It's too relatable. It's too relatable that
It's too
like,
relatable,
I've heard
maybe.
this before. I've heard this
Yeah.
before in real life.
I've heard this story before. The song and dance. I've seen this millions of times. Maybe that's it. Maybe
Well,
it's
that
you.
but again, going back to Happy Days, I love Happy Days.
Happy
I think
Days was
Happy
great,
Days-
and I would watch that. And the Fonz was my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
protagonist
The
character.
Fonz.
Just the
I mean,
Fonzie.
Happy Days. Happy Days was, the idea of being able to add comedy into serious matters, and that was really that beginning. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong because we're only so young, but in TV wise, that was really like the beginning of
Okay.
that concept of.
When I was young, Dick Van Dyke, Happy Days, the Andy Griffith Show. I mean, I'd watch those shows. Even Leave It to Beaver. I watched that too.
Dick Van Dyke was the same time period. I
No,
thought
Dick Van Dyke.
was
Dick
earlier.
Van Dyke was earlier, but the Dick Van Dyke Show. When I saw the repeats of it, because I'm pretty sure I didn't see the real playthrough, but Dick Van Dyke was one of my favorite shows. It was a black and white.
Yeah.
Before the Happy Days came out, and that
Would you
was
watch
kind of
Nick at Night?
yeah. I'd watch Bewitched. I'd watch all the stuff. Actually, when I was younger, they had like a TGI Fridays thing where they would show like all the main sitcoms, all the good ones and stuff. I don't know if you liked Home Improvement.
Love
I
Lucy.
kind of liked Home Improvement.
Can't forget. Well, that's a good one too. Tim Allen's another good, comedian that. Tim. I was not as big of a fan of Home Improvement, but I fully understand why people would be. I just didn't relate to it. I always liked Al, and I always liked the neighbor. I
Al,
always
yes,
thought they were
yes.
the funny part. But I
It-
never
I
really
always
thought
thought that
Tim
was-
Allen was that funny. And And Tim Allen was a dick. He was a dick.
No,
So
you're not
you have to
wrong.
get into
You're
that
not wrong.
idea. You
It's
have
the
to get into
weirdest.
that humor concept of it. Of now you have a guy who's calling people out on crap. At starting to get into the whole love and married with children concept, where that kind of humor started to come out, where people are calling out other people's crap. Married with Children was good. All right, continue back with Home Improvement, because we can give them a bit of a longer spiel
Yeah,
than 10 seconds
Married
here.
with Children's pretty decent. I like the fact that what's the woman actress from Married with Children?
Oh, I won't Peg, but I won't remember her real name.
She does Leela for Futurama. She's the voice of
Oh,
Leela.
really?
Yes. But anyways,
Leela's hot if she didn't have just one eye.
I actually think she's kind of hot with the one eye. I think it's all right. But
Actually, after Amy started dating Fry, though, I thought Amy was pretty hot.
yeah, she is.
I was like, Amy's pretty hot, actually. But she's spoiled. But her parents were so funny. They had
What,
that
the
Beetle Ranch.
Wongs?
Yeah,
They're the Wong
they had that
family,
Beetle
right?
Ranch. They were so rich.
The Wong family. Yeah, they have a beetle ranch on Mars. No, yeah, there's so many, like, and what about that? I mean, is it going to turn into the future that, like, a lot of things are either animated comedy, because we have so many different things. Like, a lot of people got pretty into South Park. I never really got into South Park. Not
I did
because,
for a while. For a little bit, I did. But they're
not
great.
because it was
Trey
offensive.
Parker,
I
and I
can,
don't remember the other guy's name.
like, I
Did you
can
ever
watch
see
it.
Basketball?
I did. I didn't care for it, really.
I actually
Just,
didn't care for that movie either. I didn't think it was that funny.
no, I think they tried too hard. Like, I've seen some other movies.
I think with how they looked, I put it on a pedestal with Dumb and Dumber, though.
But Dumb and
Just
Dumber
because
had comedic genius to it, where the fact that when you actually listen to the jokes, it's like, it makes you think a little bit. Like Basketball, there
it
was,
makes you wonder why Jeff Daniels isn't more popular than he is, because that movie was just so funny.
and that's another thing. That's another point too. We didn't talk about the comedic duos. There's the comedic duo pairings, like way back from Abbott and Costello, and
Super bad, even.
yeah.
Well, I mean, starting recent or starting past.
Well, if we're gonna
I
go
mean,
recent, I mean, you got to see the Holmes and Watson movie.
Lucy and Ethel. I mean, I guess Lucy was kind of her own. You could almost say Lucy and Ricky more than Lucy and Ethel, even. But Lucy and Ricky.
I would say Lucy and Ethel probably more so. Ricky was just kind of there at times, and he was, I don't know.
He was just always mad because he's just trying to get his business to do well, and Lucy's. But
Screwing
that
it up.
chocolate episode when they worked at the chocolate factory.
Yeah.
And the belts just going, and they're like shoving it in their hat, throwing it on the ceiling, eating it, doing anything they can to stop it from coming down. That was funny. That was funny. That showed like factory work at a time and all that too. That was funny.
Yeah, I think the comedic duos always do really well, like Chris Farley, David Spade. Although
Chris
I think
Farley, David Spade together were funny.
David Spade needed Chris Farley. He really did. But you watch Black Sheep, you watch Tommy Boy.
Why you didn't think that
Joe Dirt
was funny? The Joe Dirt.
It was kind of funny, but I think it really came down to Chris Farley more so. Chris Farley had the whole thing planned out. He was like,
Black Sheep was just like, he said, "Follow my lead. Bees are everywhere." The cop's like, "I don't like bees. Yeah, let's just get out of here."
what was the part where they both got stoned and they were driving a car and they're like, "Oh, how fast were you going?" 2. 2 miles an hour. I don't remember what it was, but it was like ridiculously slow.
He said, "Oh, look at the deer. We can't just leave it out here. What do you want to do with it?" He wakes up like,
that reminds me of That reminds me of Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, and that was like so much swearing in it. But Steve Martin You know,
Steve Martin, man, there's a comedian too that.
dude, one of my favorites is
Ooh.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, and that is so good because they're competing to see who can get, the most money out of women. They're just
Well,
swindling them
and
like
John Goodman
crazy.
too. We can't forget John Goodman.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know who else is really funny? The whole Airplane series. I mean, not
Yes,
Airplane. I was thinking Naked
yes.
Gun series, but Airplane and
Leslie
Naked Gun.
Nielsen.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen. I
Now, and
miss that guy.
Airplane to me, I mean, dude, that would be a great social experiment. Show the movie Airplane to kids nowadays and see if they think it's funny. I guarantee it. They would be like, "This was funny," because Airplane was funny. That
It
movie
was
was
always.
funny. That movie was funny. I mean, you cannot watch that movie and not think it's funny. And yet,
It's
there's
funny
really
how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is flying the plane, and the kid's like, "You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He's like, "No, I'm not." He's just like trying to deny. He's like, "Kid, don't do
yeah.
it." You know,
Yeah, remember that old lady's like, "I speak jive."
it was such a good language too. That actually could be a real language.
Yeah. I mean, and you can borderline say that was like racist back in the day, but it was subtle racism that I think even if you watch it nowadays, again,
No,
I
they
think
just.
that would
I
be
mean,
such a great social experiment. Get some kids and let's watch Airplane, all different cultures. Let's watch the movie Airplane and see if they still think that's funny. Naked Gun, okay, I can kind of see why people might not think it's as funny now as when it was back then. But people are like, is that O.J. Simpson? Oh yeah, he was an
he
actor.
was. Yeah,
Like,
he was in there. He was- Oh, and if you go even further back, you're looking at Police Squad, and I've got the whole DVD
oh yeah.
thing of Police Squad, and it is so good. I think
Well,
OJ's
they
in that one
had
too.
what was the next movie? There's after Police Squad, they made the same. Was it Police Academy? Or they made like the same kind of concept?
Maybe,
Or am I
yeah.
just actually thinking that's all the same? Is that all the same movie there?
I can't remember right now. I think possibly. I think it's possible, but I know Police Squad was first, and what they wanted to do was make. I think what Leslie wanted to do initially was make a movie out of the whole thing, but they had so many different skits that they could just turn it into like little episodes, and then eventually they, made the Naked Gun series, and then they made Airplane,
Well, that's
or they
again
made Airplane and the Naked Gun.
that kind of spin-off idea where it's not necessarily spin-off, but it's a bit of a spin-off.
But yeah, you
You
look
know
at
what's
this kind of
also
comedy, and this is zany. This is just totally zany. We could even go up to
speaking
a
of
Scary Movie. I mean, look at the zaniness that happens there. The one
yeah.
girl is about,
The
she's
Wayans brothers. The Wayans brothers are really funny people too. I mean, those guys. I'm
yeah.
not. Like, again, I don't know all the comedians, but I mean, certain people I do know, and like those people are fun. Even what's the chick's name that was in all those?
Oh, it wasn't Cindy. Well, her actor name
Well,
was Cindy.
her actor's name is Cindy. I know, but she's actually really funny too.
She is an original SNL actress.
And
She's from SNL, and she started in the Scary Movie stuff, and worked her way all the way through.
But she's very funny, and
Well, she
I think
is.
a lot of
Yeah.
people don't think she's that funny. But I think it's like you're not
I think
getting the fact that
I think the
attempting-
favorite part
she's
for
a bit
her.
forced funny.
I think the favorite part that I saw her is when she was like, she was in her room and had the vibrator. And her whole family
Like
comes in with the
bats that
birthday
came
cake.
out, or like the bush that came out, or something like.
Yeah, and the birthday cake comes out and just. Oh no, that was a different scene. Yeah, there were a bunch of different scenes, but I liked.
And you made me forget about something else that was.
I liked him when what was the other dude's the guy that wanted to be a rapper, that was the son of the farmer, that was the son of Charlie Sheen in Scary Movie 3. He was
I
in
don't remember all the detailed ones of it.
Well, he was in the basement, and they're trying to like block the door from aliens coming in. He's like, "Quick, give me that beam!" And the kid hands the beam to him, but he stuffs it in his crotch. And he's like, "Oh, Jesus!" And the kid quickly
He was
grabs
always
the
gay,
statue of
right?
Jesus and
The guy
stuffs it in his
he was always
crotch.
gay, but he tried to act like he wasn't gay.
No, no, no. Well, yeah, but then the kid hits him in the balls
I'm
with the
not
Jesus
gay.
statue. He's like, "Oh, my balls!" And he quickly gets some bowling balls. He's about to throw it in his crotch. He's like, "No, no,
Well,
no!"
remember when they go to the castle and the guy has like the crippled hand and he's feeding everybody mashed potatoes. He's just like scooping it out. And they're like, "What's he?" He's like flicking it on the plate and stuff. And that's that same kind of concept. I mean, that's like, you know who he reminds me of? The guy from Harold and Kumar when they're getting the tow ride, you know, and the guy's like, you know, make yourself at home, you know, have something to drink, fuck my wife. And they're like, did he just say fuck my wife? Like, yeah, but come on, look at him. What could his wife do? His wife's like super hot. He's like shotgun anus. Like, I mean, that's again, you get into this concept of nowadays, if that stuff comes out, are you gonna say that all ugly people could be offended by that? You know, I mean, they could.
Yeah,
They could be offended by that. They could say, you know, oh, because the guy's not good looking, suddenly you're criticizing his
I think we just have
his
to
looks.
like
I mean,
get over things.
I
You know,
really
you
do
kinda
too.
have
I
to
think that if the
just get
comedy
over
isn't for
get
you,
over it. You know, just
if the comedy isn't for you, you just have to accept that it's not for you. I mean, people.
and you're
Again,
right.
I
You're
think
right. I think everybody wants all
when you're
comedy
going
to
to
be
vegan, when you're
for.
going to vegan stuff and you're trying to be a dick, I think that that's really not acceptable. But when you're making a movie or you know you're doing something and it's going to upset vegans, they're going to have to get over that. The joke wasn't for you. You know. Now
I
again,
mean,
you're
for
going to
the
start
longest
saying,
time, you
but
know,
that's
people would say PETA, people eating tasty animals. You know, that they would constantly joke about that, and you know, it was it was slightly offensive to the people that you know were on that side, but I don't know.
well. I mean, I don't want to start seeing one-sided, you know, because you start segregating. You know, a house that's divided cannot stand. And I don't want to start having comedy that way too, where, oh, if you're a Republican, you'll enjoy this movie. If you're a Democrat, you won't enjoy
Yeah,
this movie.
yeah,
I don't want to see
exactly.
that. I want to see it where a Democrat can go to a movie and find some things that they can relate to and think are funny, but also a Republican go to that same movie and find stuff. And maybe the Republican might be like, you know what, that's not true or that's not funny, but I'm not going to make a big hoot about it. It just wasn't what I thought was funny. And then at the end of the day, you say, you know, parts of it were funny, parts of it I didn't think were that funny. Bottom line, it was a decent movie.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that we're starting to get this idea where it's like you have to make a movie solely for one individual, one type of person, you know, and that's going to be a real bummer down the line.
Well,
You know, you
it's
can't.
that it's like comedy is getting homogenized, and
Yeah,
that's not right. Because like
and that's what I said. But
I'll watch things like
but
Jim Jeffries will will do. He'll rip on one side. I'll watch stuff like Bill Burr. He'll rip on the other side and be completely offensive. I'll watch both of that alike. You know, I'll find the humor that sounds funny in both sides. You know, I'll watch two different sides and see what's funny. It's not always about the fact that you just make a joke about something. It's how you made the joke about it. It's not the fact that you made a joke about it. It's always the why. You know what I'm saying? It's always like how you
well,
conscripted
comedian
it.
comedians are almost, they have to be also insightful. You have to make the joke, but then you almost have to offer a bit of a solution, or the joke has to come down to, well, what happened at the end? How did it actually play out? You know, and there has to be a bit of a serious part of the joke. I mean, maybe it wasn't always like that, but nowadays it almost seems like, you know, it has to be, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like the comedy has to be the answer, the solve. You know, comedy is the only way you can actually access the question, because obviously, like, you know, we've learned, like, our government's not answering the questions. You know, our government just goes on a shutdown, and neither side. I mean, honestly, I don't care. The Republicans can say the Democrats aren't doing this. Oh, my wife actually did make me some kind of drinks.
Uh-oh.
I guess it'll have to be. Would you
She
use the
make me
rest of the
one too?
strawberries, right? You use the rest of that. Don't make it super sweet by using the rest of that. Oh, I guess there is only a little bit. I see. Thank you. You know, and comedy plays such an important thing in relationships too. Women are. I think women are more like that than men. Women are like, I need a man who's funny, but men are not usually like, I need a woman who's funny.
Exactly. And I'm
You
not
never
saying
noticed
it's
that?
wrong, but it's just it's more of a natural talent, I think.
Yeah.
Ulysses.
Well, yeah.
Hi. How you doing, dude? Or girl, I don't know. How you doing
No,
there?
I didn't even go to the YouTube site today. Good thing you did that.
Yeah.
What did you think about Ray Romano?
Ray Romano. What from
That's so Raymond.
from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Everybody loves Raymond. Sorry. What am I thinking? That's so Raven. I've had too many.
Everybody
these
says
rum
hi
and
to
cokes.
Raymond. That's the show. Obviously. That's what Brad thinks.
Everybody loves Raymond. My neighbor loves that show. He thinks that show is so funny. I put that in the same pedestal as King of Queens. I actually don't think either of them are that funny.
I think King of Queens is enjoyable to watch, and there's parts that are kind of funny, but to me, I actually feel like the wife of King of Queens was funnier than James. What's his name? I mean, he's funny too, but she kind of like drove the comedy. It felt like
Kevin James. That's why
Kevin
you're
James,
not-
yes,
Yeah.
and I think Kevin James is a good comedian, but I feel like the actress that portrayed his wife.
I can't watch it because every time I see her, I keep thinking of Saved by the Bell, the beach episodes.
Was she in that?
That was her from
She was
Saved
in
by the Bell.
Who was she in Saved by the Bell?
On those beach episodes when he went to the beach and he really liked that girl at the beach. I don't know how to get much more detail than that.
Okay. Oh man, I remember watching Saved by the Bell, but I didn't.
Belding had the metal detector the whole time, or Screech had the metal detector the whole time, and I think it was Screech actually.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah.
Faintly, but yeah, okay.
And when he wasn't dating, that was the only thing annoying about Saved by the Bell is he was always talking to other chicks.
What,
talking
Zach?
to Kelly and then
Zach
once
or
Tori- yes, Zach. You always kind of wanted him to be with Kelly, but at one point in time he was talking to Tori, and earlier episodes, ooh,
well, he could never figure it
definitely
out.
thick.
Did you get a malt?
The smoothie. I mean, what is it? What is it? Tequila or rum? Thank you, baby.
Where's mine?
Thanks, baby.
Where's mine?
Um,
I'm gonna reach over here, and
Wow, she made it personally for me too, because I guarantee she would say this is too strong for her.
I don't get any. Good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, we just put a little agave, some frozen strawberries, a little bit of simple syrup, and rum. Keep it simple, but it's pretty good. I like it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes we'll add lime and tequila instead.
So that brings me another point in some comedy.
Strawberry margarita.
Saved by the Bell and Family Matters. Screech and what's his name? Urkel?
Urkel?
They were supposed to be comedic reliefs, but even though I knew that, and I knew that was supposed to be just like stupid humor, literally based upon stupid humor, like
Stupid humor can piss some people off.
I hate it. I just hate it.
I
I just hate it. I can't stand it. Like I can't watch that and
when
go,
people do
"Oh,
things
he's trying to be
that
like." If I was into sort of a guy kind of cuteness in a way, that might seem funny, but I'm not. It's so blatantly.
an idiot.
Exactly, you fucking idiot.
I'm trying to think. There was a show.
I
It'll
can't do
bother me
that.
because I won't be able to remember it right now. But there was a show where that overly happened, where you were always like,
I'm just saying
"How
those two
stupid
characters are the
can you
most
be?"
memorable for me of being just blatantly stupid humor. Like, did I do that? I'm like, yeah, you freaking did that. You know,
Yeah, you did.
shut up. You know, it's annoying now. I don't need to hear you say that like a million times. Okay, well, Carlton was close to that, but at least Carlton was kind of funny.
No, Carlton wasn't close to that. Carlton was fun.
I'm just saying, Carlton was that comedic relief that people would like, make fun
We're
of because the
we're
Carlton
talking
dance.
about
Did you
we're
know that
talking.
Did you know that with games they put the Carlton dance in Fortnite, and I think he sued them over the Carlton dance.
He should then. He should.
It's a dance that he did in a show. It's not. I don't think he choreographed it. I don't know if he did that, but it was made for the show.
You remember how funny that was? They came out dancing and Vivian and what's her name were there. There's like, oh gosh, I used to have the biggest crush on the oldest sister. What was her name?
The Olden sister.
The oldest sister.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can't think of her name, but I used to always be like, damn, she's so hot. I did.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name right now. Actually, I think the
Was it
younger one
Vivian?
ended up being.
Was
No,
it
Vivian was the mom. But my favorite episode of Fresh Prince was always when Will Smith went to the he went to play pool, and he was hustling people, thinking he was so good. And then one day, he ran across this guy, and this guy hustled him. He's like, "Let's say $500," and Will Smith thinking he could win, and then the guy like stormed on Will Smith and took his money, right? And Will Smith came back to Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil is like, "We'll take care of this," and he goes down to the pool house, the pool club. You remember this episode?
He doesn't
You
just get
remember this?
angry with him like he got hustled. He's gonna go and
No.
save him. Uncle Phil was
no,
that
Un-
protector.
Uncle Phil's a gangster. He was a gangster.
But he
For
was a
judge-
protector like archetype, with his.
So Uncle Phil comes in, and he's like, "I'm gonna win back the money that you took from my nephew," and he plays a game, and he's like, and like he sucked, right? and he's like, no. He's like, it was just my first game. It's been a little while. I haven't played in a while. He's like, I want to win back that money. And the guy's like, well, if you really want to win that money back, he's like, let's up the stakes then, because he's like, this guy's like a chump, this big guy. Yeah. And he's like, let's say $50 a ball, or $100 a ball or something, whatever. And then he's like, $100 a ball. And you see Uncle Phil's face, he's like, I don't know. And he's like, and the whole time, Will's like, come on, Uncle Phil, you got to get out of here. You don't know, he's a hustler, man. He's playing you. And he's like, well, he's like, how much is that? And he's like, I guess we can do it. And he shakes on it. And as soon as the guy shakes on it, Uncle Phil's like, Jeffrey, break out my pool stick. And Jeffrey pulls a pool stick out of his pants. And Uncle Phil's like, smacking them all in, no problem. And he's like, if you ever mess with my nephew again. And I was just like, dang, it was the funniest episode I'd ever seen. I mean, Uncle Phil played that role perfectly, and that's the other part of it too. Comedy is, again, like I repeat,
What would that be described as? Would that be like deceptive humor, or would that be
funny? A funny skit is nothing if you're not actually. Huh? What?
Would that be like deceptive humor? Or what?
I don't
kind
know.
would
My
that
internet
be?
became unstable for a second.
Yeah, you kind of paused out a second, but I don't know what you describe that. That's like.
I don't know if that's such a term. Is that a real term, deceptive humor? Is there like a college thing on humor?
I don't know. Like I've looked, there's a bunch of different terms for humor. I don't know if that's one of them. I'm just thinking it could be, but I don't know. Either way, yeah, that was a good show. I liked Will Smith back then. That I'd always watch.
Well,
that
was. that
I
happy
always
it was
want.
that Happy Days concept, where
It's yeah,
comedy
it
was
was.
thrown into
You're
real
right.
stories. And maybe I don't watch enough TV nowadays, but I feel like if you want comedy, you have to like go to like Comedy Central or Cartoon Network, and you know, but like there's not really enough, I mean, if you want serious, you're gonna watch, you know, serious show, and that's what it always is. Like Scrubs. Scrubs is a good example of that idea where there's comedy, but to me, it wasn't that serious. They try to pretend that it was serious. You know what I'm talking about? Scrubs.
Well,
It
what
was
ended up
almost like
happening
the
is
ER
at the
show.
end of every episode, it always brought you down. It was a downer at the end of the episode. It made you like look at reality and see what it was. While the whole entire episode, it was everybody just putting on this clown outfit and clowning around and joking about stuff until the very end of the episode. It got really dark and serious. And so I liked Scrubs, but it always made me feel bad at the end of the show. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I thought you were still talking about
no, I'm talking about Scrubs. I
yeah,
mean,
I thought you were still talking about Will's Fresh Prince, because I was thinking, remember that episode where Carlton gets pulled over by the cops, and Will's like, Carlton, man, you're a black guy driving a Mercedes, like you're gonna he's gonna be problems. And he's like, no, Will, don't you worry. And he like gets pulled over, like, get out of the car. He's like, remember Will's like puts his like hands right on like the roof.
it goes in immediate I'm screwed mode.
And well, and that kind of stuff. See, that's that back and forth attitude. Dave Chappelle, his comedy, which was blatantly racist, I felt like was almost like, because he was the racist one, but the imagery wasn't necessarily, the Mad Real World skit. It wasn't ever going to happen. You were never going to see an episode of Real World with 5 ghetto black guys and 1 preppy white guy. And same thing with the Ku Klux Klan. You were never going to see a blind black guy leading a Ku Klux Klan group. So what made it funny is these scenarios that wouldn't happen.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you were never going to
Dave
see,
Chappelle would
you were never going to see a bunch of black guys go back in time during the slave times. Remember that?
Dave Chappelle is notorious for lighting a fire under people's
like,
butts to get them to really just. He's doing shock and awe kind of humor with
but you
that.
understand what I'm saying? Dave Chappelle's stories would not happen in the real world. They could not happen in the real world.
No, but it's zany, imaginary,
that Fresh Prince scenario where a rich black man's getting pulled over and experiencing racism from a white cop, that could very well happen in the real world. So I feel like that's actually what's egging on racism, because you see it and you're like, look at him. You can relate to you can't relate to a bunch of black guys going back in the future during the slave times and being like honky and just shooting the slave guy, like it's like, what are you thinking? You can't relate to that because that's just pure comedy. It's like when you're dealing with racism and comedy, it has to be pure comedy. You can't necessarily deal with racism and comedy in a racist manner.
I guess what you're trying to say is if you're trying
if you're
trying to pull it out to show everybody like, hey, this is that, instead of just making it all a joke, you make it too serious. That's bad. Yeah. If you make it zany and like imaginary,
make it all a joke.
It's like, this is just a joke.
If you make it too serious, you're going to end up kind of like supporting it. If you just,
yeah,
I mean,
you're going to be supporting one side. You get too serious. You just have to basically throw it to the wind and see where it gets carried to. Just completely up in the air, imaginary scenario. That seems to make sense. That really does.
I got pulled over the other day, actually, by a cop. I was driving in the hood. This is the hood. My wife, we found a good place for my wife to get her hair done. And my wife was coming out. She had called me. She's like, how long are you going to be there? Because they were closing. She's called. And we're in the hood. We're on we're on the street. It's the hood street. Back in the day, it used to be even worse.
You didn't pull that line from Scary Movie, did you? You just hate.
No, I'll tell you the situation. So I see my wife. I didn't even notice there was even a car behind me, and it's in this area, it's like stop signs every block, right?
Hmm.
I see my wife, and I stop briefly, but I kind of roll through the stop sign and make the right. My wife is walking out in the street to go towards my car, because I'm picking her up,
Yeah.
and the cop pulls me over, and I'm already like turning to pick her up, and he pulls me over, and I could be that person on these videos nowadays. It's like, oh, not give my ID and this and that,
Well, if
but
your white shirt was more of a wife beater shirt, then you'd probably be on cops like the very next day, just because.
well, I decide, you know what? I'm not gonna videotape this scenario. I'm not gonna be a problem. I'm just gonna give since my registration and my proof of insurance. I give them all in one foul swoop. And I tell the guy, I said, I rolled that stop sign, didn't I? And he's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was just, picking up my wife. I was focused
You're
on
picking up
her.
your
I said,
left
I know
baton.
there was no other cars at any of the stops, but, I kind of rolled through it. I know. He's like, huh? I'm picking up my wife. Oh, my internet's unstable again. I'm just picking up my wife. He goes, oh, that's your wife. Now, we were crossing. Does he think my wife is a prostitute, or does he think that I was just about to hit this random pedestrian who was crossing the street when I'm just kind of like rolling through a stop sign and turning? But either way, he's like, oh, that's your wife. And I was like, yeah.
Well,
And he's
was
like,
he
you want to
older?
get in
Was
the
he in his
car then?
60s? Was he
Nah,
fifth?
he was a young cop. He was young white guy.
So he didn't imagine that.
So he's like, is this address? We were back and forth on it. Does he think that I'm, picking up this girl in the corner block, or does he think that because she was kind of like walking towards my car, she saw me and I'm turning, so she started walking, where I drop her off is the same place where I'm picking her up. So she's walking to that point as I'm turning. She knows she's not going to walk into my car, but I think he saw like I'm just turning and not paying attention to her. And I'm gonna I could have potentially just like drove into her. It wasn't even close, but whatever. He's a cop. He's got to do his job.
Yeah.
So he said, "Is this a good address? If for anything?" And I said, "Yeah, it's my address." And he tells my wife to get it. He's like, "You can get in the car," because she's out walking. She's like standing in the middle of the street now. All right. So he's like, "All right, let me run everything here. Stay here." I turn off my car.
Could she go in your car with you, or do you not allow that?
Yeah. You let her go in my car. He didn't even care. You let her go in my car. He obviously didn't seem to think she was a prostitute at that point, I guess. So literally, not even 5 minutes, he comes back, gives me my license, and I actually have my registration and insurance in one little thing. Gives it to me, and just goes, just be careful. And that's it. I mean, I haven't gotten a warning from a cop. I think in the last like 5 years, I get pulled over like once a year, and every time I get a ticket, and every time I tell the cop, I said, look, I'm gonna fight this ticket. Are you gonna show up and we can get this like reduced? I said, I'm really not trying to pay a huge fine here. And they're usually like, if you want to fight it, yeah, we can work something out. And I'm like, all right, I'll see you in court, and that's it. And usually they don't even show up because, like, you know what, I really don't care. They have to seriously, half the time they don't even show up. And the judge is just like,
Well, I
he doesn't
mean,
even care. But
they do this all the time. They don't have all day to show up to every court case,
But yeah, well, the one time actually I got pulled over, it was pretty bad. I was speeding. I mean, it's a 25. It's a bullcrap 25. It's over a bridge.
Were you wearing
And I
a
was-
clown outfit or something? Was it a?
No, I was testing out my car because it was late at night, and I picked it up and I hit the gas on it, and I actually pulled in and everything. I pulled in, parked my car, and started walking before he actually caught up to me, and then stopped me. He goes, "Get back in your car," and he's like, "I'm giving you a ticket," and I was like, crap, because this guy got me. Like, I could lose my license. I hit like 75 on this 25. It's over a bridge. It's not like there's houses or anything. There really was. I'm not like a residential speeder, but you know, it's for
Did the
whatever
other side
reason.
of the bridge
It's
have a connection, or did you Dukes of Hazzards jump that shit?
no, you know what it is? It's because
You just,
I'll be
yeehaw!
honest.
You
It's
just
because
fucking
townships change. Townships change, so they put a low speed limit there to be able to nail anybody they want before you leave the township and stuff like that. I'm telling you, that's why they do it. It's because it's a change between townships, so they have this really low speed limit to kind of regulate people coming into their township. You know what I mean? They can pull anybody over because you're almost always, dude. The average
Oh, I know.
speed is easily
We
45 all over this bridge, and
Mhm.
they, you know, and that it's all planned out. But this guy got me. You know, it was late at night, and I was like, "Look, I'm gonna fight this." And he's like, "You do what you want." And he actually got like fired. Long, weird story. Him and another cop tasered this other guy's wife. Like they were tasering her for like the cop's wife. Like she got a divorce. It was a weird scenario. It was in the paper,
Was she
and I
like a
was like, "Well,
dominatrix and they were
no. It was like they were harassing her big time. Like
with
this
their
cop was
tasers?
dirty. He was a dirty cop. I respect police, but this cop was a dirty cop.
Well, there's always going to be a percentage of dirty cops and dirty whatever out there. You just have to
And
find them, filter them out.
needless to say, nobody showed up for that court case. Like I won that one, no problem. The judge was just like, yeah, 'cause he was fired. He got fired. I mean, I don't know. It was weird. They were like really like in the wrong. Like it was a weird. It was in the paper and everything, you know. And I read that. I was like, oh my gosh, like that was the guy who pulled me over. Like, geez.
Hmm.
I remember his name, but I won't say his name. Out of he somehow watches this video. It's like that's not what happened.
Yeah, you'll get my channel delisted and all kinds of crazy shit. And look at this
Well,
channel. This has got to go. What are they doing?
But
They're
that's
making me
another
look
thing.
bad. That's it.
Comedy, comedy is such a stretch on things.
No, but like
You know what I mean? You can see things that you
look at how we were comedically.
everything is comedy.
But dude, look at how we were comedically against the actor that plays Aquaman to do the Crow movie, the remake, and we scoffed at it so much. It's literally blocked from the outlining islands of the United States from being able to watch it because that one Crow show that we did. It's fucking insane how far some things have gone as far as like people wanting to block things.
I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest. But
Well, we did the Halloween special. I think it was the
oh, it's
Halloween
the
special.
Halloween episode. Yeah.
We were talking about the Crow movie. The next one's coming out. Me, Chaos, Zodiac. I don't know if you were there. Maybe you were there. But we shouted it down because, like, for me personally, like, if he was going to do that, I see him more of a Solomon Grundy kind of character. I don't see him as, like, a Crow person because the Crow is like a lanky, tall dude, you know, one shot. Well, you're down. You can't handle that kind of stuff. But it's like we did that, and it was just that one episode in particular that it's like because we talked about it in a way that we were like sarcastically putting it
So
down.
that was our final conclusion on it. I thought they thought that we were airing the Crow movie on Halloween.
Well, they did that initially. They actually put it in a heading underneath it saying, like, if you want to watch the Crow movie, go here. Which the whole entire episode was just a podcast. Had nothing to do with the... Well, I mean, we talked about the possibility of the upcoming movie, but we never talked about any spoilers for it or anything like that. We just belittled, you know, what we thought their choice for the actor was. And after that, they put copyrights on it.
Chaos especially belittled that episode.
Yeah, he's good at that. But
Chaos is funny.
yeah, I guess.
Chaos is like the New Yorker Mexican, which I don't know how many there really are in New York, but the New Yorker Mexican's actually a rare thing to find
Yeah.
because he has a very unique personality on. I wonder how Chaos feels about the wall. We never actually. I haven't talked to him about all that. I asked my wife's Mexican friend the other day. I was like, "How do you feel about the wall?" And her immediate answer was, "I'm Mexican. How do you even think I feel about the wall?" And I was just like, "Well, I mean, everybody's entitled to a different opinion." She's like, "Yeah, but you should know when somebody's Mexican, they're automatically not going to support it." And I was like, "That's like a bit stereotypical." And she's getting like, she wasn't mad at me because she knows how I am, but
Dude, I
she's just
watched.
like,
Oh man, this will work out well here because I just watched the Conan O'Brien stuff on Netflix. You know, he
Mhm.
went to Mexico and almost his entire skit was asking everybody how they felt about the wall. And at the end, he's like, "Viva la Mexico." I'm like, you're trying to promote Mexico by hoping and helping that they leave it? What the hell, Conan? I mean, I love watching
well,
Conan stuff, but it seems so politically like motivated. It was insane. It was like,
let, here's
everybody's
just what's
complaining
up.
about it, but the fact is, why are you complaining about it when you're trying to promote Mexico? You're not actually promoting Mexico. You're promoting people to leave Mexico. And then at the end you're promoting them to
Here's the
stay there.
first
It's like a
problem,
total
though.
contradiction of like what is the purpose of this? What is the point? What is his goal? It
My
doesn't make any
wife's
damn
friend
sense.
reiterated this point to me, and I think it's very important to play into that you have to go through Mexico in order to get into the United States from the South. That does not mean that every person is Mexican coming through the South. Obviously, we now know that people are coming from like Guatemala and Honduras and stuff like that. But the thing is,
But he was
I
talking
feel like
to like almost
I feel like
every point he had, and it was pretty much like 20 minutes of the entire 30-minute presentation, 30-minute episode. He was scoffing at the whole idea of the wall and everything like that. And it's like, dude, you're basically scoffing at the idea of random people jumping into another country and just being able to live there just because they want to. Any other
yeah,
country you look at,
I don't even
any
mind
other
saying it.
country
I
you
don't
look
say
at,
anything
none
about
of
the
the other
wall.
countries around the world are going to be like, oh, that's cool. No, they're going to freaking hate the idea. It's just that particular border that it's like he's trying to promote it to such a degree. And at the end, he's like, Viva la Mexico. He's like, he wants people to go to Mexico so that they can eventually just illegally come here. It's almost like that whole episode was trying to say. It's like, what is the what's your deal, Conan? Here, are you doing this because you're told to do it? Are you doing it because you want to do it? You know, you can disagree on certain policies, but the fact is, if you go over to any country illegally, they're not going to be that receptive to you. It's only within this borderline of America that people are actually fighting for. Any other country in the entire world, people are going to be against it. I mean, it's the way the world
Well,
works. It's the
I don't want to
way the
jump to all the
world
political
works.
stuff, but it's like it's one thing if you want to call Trump a liar, but you're also if you call Trump a liar about the border security, you're actually calling Ted Cruz a liar. And I can understand why you might think Trump might be a liar, but Ted Cruz, that guy's anything but a liar. I mean, that guy's like a super honest, hardworking guy. And
And Canadian.
he tells us like, it's bad in Texas. Like people are coming across in Texas. But the thing is, like I like to say, it's not Mexican. In fact, I even
What
read
what's
this
it?
where,
What the worst thing about it is that if people come over illegally, they can't get all their visas, they can't get things working for them, so they have to work under the table for corporations that will abuse them and pay them very, very little money. And the corporation, the CEOs, the owners, and all that, they pay them under minimum wage, cash,
well,
to work for them without other people knowing, so they can get work done cheaper at the same
well,
rate, and they get away with it, and they abuse the
I keep
people
hearing
coming
that
over.
argument. I keep hearing that argument where they're like, we have to fix our border. Um,
That's one of the things that
before
happens,
we
and it's
fix
an
the
abuse
border,
that
we have to
happens.
actually fix immigration policies before we can fix the border. And I think that literally makes zero sense. You'd fix the border before you fix immigration policies because you have to be able to make it so people aren't still coming in. I mean, But I agree. I don't, and I'm surprised. I haven't heard really Trump say anything about attacking the business owners. I mean, in fact, during the last speech that he made, Trump even said, "We want these people to come in and we want them to work on the farms." I thought it was borderline racist saying that we want a bunch of, Mexican people working on farms. I thought that was racist, but
I mean, it
he
depends
said
on
that.
what
He's
kind
like,
of industries there. If there were,
but he said
I mean,
that.
but
He
I
said
mean,
we
if
want.
like if there were
He
coal
said, "I want
mines
to get
there, and
these."
he's like, I want them all to work in the coal mines, or if there was like a bunch, I don't know, whatever, I don't know,
But he said
whatever's
that.
there.
He
Like
said,
he,
"I want," and the thing is, Trump has made it pretty clear to me. I'm not necessarily against the immigration. I'm against trafficking. I'm against criminals coming
and
into this
yeah,
country basically doing illegal stuff.
that's what he
And
was
I
talking
fully
about a lot
understand
of.
that. I mean, he's made that clear. And I think that, by now, and I don't want to get into the whole political thing, but like Democrats are really trying to push this immigration thing because they know it's a very heartfelt subject. That so they're really,
Well,
really
yeah, I
trying to
mean, you
push
you
for
want to have your loved
this
ones and
concept.
family
And
with
that's
you.
not what Trump wants to bring. And that's the truth. The reality is, if you have 1 trillion jobs available, by all means bring 1 trillion people in. If we have the jobs available, and that's what he did. He lightened up on regulations, allowing these people to be able to sell. Now we can sell cheese to France. That's the whole point. Instead of buying French cheese all the time, now I mean, he's apparently done a lot in Wisconsin, allowing these people to be able to sell their cheese to be able to other countries. And before it was like, and it's true. When I went to Spain, I saw nothing American, not cigarettes, not
Well,
food, nothing.
that's what people don't
But yet
understand about the global
here
economy
I can
is
see
that.
things from every country known to man. I can find things made in Italy, made in Spain,
Well,
and it's
yeah,
true. There's no
that's the
reason
point.
why
That's a
we aren't
point.
selling
But that's a
our
point
product.
of. But yeah, you're right. That's the point of actually making money for a economy. And us
Right.
as Americans, we want to make money for our economy, so we want our products to be sold elsewhere. We don't always want to import things because we're not making money that way. We want to export things, and in that way, us as a nation makes money. That's the way the world works as far as like yeah, the economy goes.
To get back
If you're
on
constantly
comedy, actually, it's funny. I watched Trump's latest speech at the farm convention type thing, or whatever it is, and I felt like it was like watching a comedy show that I've already been to. Trump repeated every joke that if you watch news all the time, he literally repeated for the first 20 minutes, every joke and I told him the wheel's also a medieval thing. And I'm thinking like, man, I've heard all these jokes before, Trump. Like, come on, you can come up with some fresh new material here or what? But no, he never did actually.
It's
He
almost
got
like he
serious.
wants to stick with the dad jokes like perpetually, in some degree.
Well,
Like
I mean, Trump's is not a professional comedian, and
no, but I'm just saying like he's trying to take some jokes he might think is lighthearted, or he might think is like, you know, possibly a little vindictive because of what somebody said to him, and he's gonna try to throw it out there, but not always in the smartest sense. You know, just like it's so dry, it's kind of stupid. You might actually laugh at it.
Well, Nancy Pelosi said that the wall is a medieval design, and Trump said the wheel is medieval, and he said, but yet we still have it on every car. And he said sometimes medieval things are medieval because they're just good designs and work.
Yeah. Well, you gotta find a way to come back at some things. I mean, the fact is, uh, that's what I keep saying. You look at most other countries, you're not gonna be able to just run into another country unless it's like the border is literally desert. You can't plant a gate into there deep enough. You can't
Well,
can't do something to wall it off enough. When you look at Canada, the United States, they cut down so many trees to make an actual distinction between the line between it that there is a definite marker. There. Most countries
well,
have
people are
markers
fooling
like
themselves.
you can't come over
People are
here.
saying the walls. People say the wall's not going to work are fooling themselves. The realization is we have drones covering like 4,000 acres of land right now. If we can suddenly take those drones and just pinpoint them all on a wall point or people who want to take ladders, as they've already said, and try to cross. And then people are like, oh, well, there's tunnels. You can't. First off, we definitely have technology to locate things underground. Two, the tunnels are run by like high-end traffickers and stuff. The average person is not going to be able to afford to use those tunnels. Those tunnels, and they're not going to be able to be like, oh, we'll just allow anybody to go through our tunnel. No, they spent years and years on making those tunnels. They are not going to just give them to the average immigrant who wants a better dream life.
Well, most of the people that are, here's the thing, most people that are trying to come over here are trying to do some kind of business. Nobody just wants to come over here for just some random reason, just because they want to take a trip, without some type of reason. Most of it's drug related. So there's a lot of cartels that are trying to find ways to send their drugs in here and do that sort of stuff, or maybe traffic people into here.
I mean, I do think there's a lot of people that come over here for strictly just trying to work. They just want to work.
Sure. But I'm saying, like,
there are more jobs available over here.
Like,
but you're talking about the vindictive people.
The people that can make money off of smuggling people, they're going to make money off of smuggling people. They're going to be like, you give me $1,000, I'll get you across the border. They do this enough times, you can make a good salary doing that. I mean, even if it's not drugs,
Absolutely.
You can just make a good salary doing that. Like, I know how to get, like, I know where to go. I know what time to go. These people aren't going to be around at this particular time. People get good at certain particular jobs. They make money off of it, and they can just do it. And so if you build a wall, that pretty much makes the proclivity of it happening so much less, to the point that the problem, like, the thing is, like what I said before, like, you got immigrants coming over here looking for work. They're looking for almost anybody to give them work. And some of the shady corporations
I think we need to regulate that too. I think we need to find these places where immigrants are working. And I think the reason that we
But I'm just saying, you're going to get shady places that are going to pay those people pennies to do the same work that somebody else is getting paid $15 to do. And they either take the money for them, they send it back home to their country, for their families, and they work like a dog for these corporations that just don't give a crap, because they realize the system is slightly broken because the border's open. And so they take advantage of that. They take advantage of those people. And that's what you will not see with what the main media is covering. You will not see them talk about the poor immigrants coming over here illegally, getting taken advantage of, working like dogs, like slaves, and barely making any money, but being able to be in America, being used by these evil corporations that know how to manipulate the system. Because when you get, the higher you go in a system, the more manipulative it gets. The more money you make, the more manipulative you have to be to have a stranglehold over your competition and over your own employees. It's strategy.
All right, here's the question. Here's the question, though. I've oftentimes wondered, though, what is it with the way that businesses are working nowadays? What is it that the jobs that are cheating out these people, that are paying them very, very little, what is it that they're harvesting? Because
they're getting to keep the returns of not spending all that much money.
I understand, so they get but I'm saying, what is the food that they're actually doing this with?
Food?
Oranges are, well, I'm saying that they work on farms. They keep going back to the farms idea. What is it that these immigrants are farming and not getting paid much to do?
They could be having some drug stuff on the side, that they don't get paid.
Because if you look at the poultry, if you look at the poultry industry, typically one person will handle like 2 or 3 houses.
Let's say it costs a certain amount of money to
1,000+ chickens. And they get paid on commission.
Okay, but what if you need a certain chemical for cleaning the chickens? You need certain chemicals for doing this. You need a certain type of machine for doing that, and it all costs a certain amount. If you can cut some of the costs, like, how businesses, you've known this with factories, they'll just chop off a bunch of workers that aren't higher up, and then put the pressure on the person that is higher up to do that job and what they were doing before, being in charge.
I
So
guess what I'm saying is like, all right,
so
you
they're trying to find a way to
so
cut costs to increase their profit, but cut off dead weight, which they would pretty much consider most people, that aren't
well, I'm saying
as
like, all right,
proficient.
maybe apples or something, because apples have to be picked.
But you have to do
You can,
pesticide. You,
well,
you have to
right.
spray pesticide, so that's a cost. You have to water it. You have to have the water pumps going. You got to. Uh, I mean, you got
But
other costs. I don't know all the
the
costs
general
to it, but I'm
factor,
just saying, like, those are some of the
the general
costs.
factor is if you were to pay laborers a little bit more money, I mean, honestly, like I've been to farms of apple farms where they probably don't have anybody legal. I mean, you look around the farms and you see the people doing it, and the apples are maybe 50 cents more a pound. And I mean, to me, it's like piddly squat, because bottom line is they're picking like 800, apples an hour. It's just the reason is you can't take machines, because if they just machine cut all the apples off, they won't grow well the next year. They actually have to pull and twist. And same thing with oranges and stuff. But I keep thinking, that's what I'm trying to get at is what farms exactly are being manipulated? Like almond farms in I mean, a lot of them are going to California. So you think, okay,
I would
California's main
say that
crop
I would say that
and almond.
if there is a business tycoon that runs it and he could find a way to manipulate it, he will. I've worked with some of these people before, and they are unscrupulous with their ways of doing things. If you give them an idea that helps them make more money and cut off a bunch of workers, and you give them the idea, they will do it. Just no questions asked. They will do it because they'll realize they can make more money. They don't need all these other workers. Bam, they
But
get more money.
you understand what I'm getting at though. I'm saying like for the most part, like even like cattle ranchers, like two people run like 50 or so cattle. It's really not like a large, like farmers handle way more material. It's not like you're having like 500 people on a farm
I think we got away
handling
from comedy a bit
like,
here.
I know, I don't. I guess I'm just saying, like, I'm confused about it all. I'm confused about it all. You know, I mean, bottom line, I think most of the illegals that I know personally, they work in restaurant businesses under the table as like a dishwasher, or like a waiter, or I don't really feel like they're actually in farms. I don't know. Maybe it's wrong. I'm wrong, but I don't know what farms. I mean, our food prices are pretty stable as it is. I don't see the huge cost factor. I mean, you have like for a field of oranges, you have like 200 workers that handle 100 acres of farm, and that's all they do. They pick oranges all day. Okay, that's 200 people. That doesn't. I mean, there's like 200 immigrants that come in every day, so that doesn't really solve. And those people are the same people working at the same farms. You can't say that they're all going to farms. They're not. I mean, they're
Well,
not.
what
They're
if
not all
what
going.
if that one? What if a guy's brother decides to pick orange at the farm, and then the next day he decides to let his younger brother go, and he just stays home. So I mean, they both work the farm, but just
Well, then
one doesn't work it
that's two
every day.
people making half the salary.
But they still make salary, but they don't need as much because they just buy really cheap
Well,
food and
who
they live
cares?
very
Who
cheaply.
cares if you and I wanted to do that? I mean, there's lots of that. You just set up the hours that way. Oh, you come in first come first serve to pick the oranges. And besides,
I'm just
oranges are in
saying, like
Florida.
you got a household. Let's say we're brothers and we're in a household, and they're like, I work Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you work Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. We both make the same value. We could save up the money, but we're
What's wrong with that,
it's
though?
counted as two people working the job when really all it really needs to be counted as one because we're sharing the profit. and we're just using that profit to survive. You know, just makes me think there is a possible scenario. Like some people are like, I don't want to work that much. You work
Yeah,
this
but you
day, and
can
I.
pay people minimum wage on the table.
But I'm saying
You know,
if you're
probably
illegal,
no different.
if you're illegal, you can't get paid with the taxpayer
I
dollar
don't think we
because
even know what we're talking about, to be honest. Let's go back to comedy.
that's what
I think this
that's
is
what I
the
was
funniest
telling
thing
you.
we've
We
been
got off
talking about
topic
because
here.
people are gonna be like, these people have no clue what they're talking about.
I was
I'm just saying, I don't quite understand it. I don't understand it. How many, you know, what are the jobs? I don't understand it. What are the jobs? I don't. There must be some job in our country that's, you know, like I said, California runs mostly almonds. That's like their main profit source is almonds.
And almonds are
Maybe,
okay. I mean, I prefer
and almonds
cashews a
are
little more.
expensive as they are, you know? They're already expensive. So either some guy's making tons of money on almonds or,
I
you
would
know, there's just
say
not that many illegals. I don't mind. I'd work on a farm. Actually, yeah, my wife actually offered that. She said, you know, you can work doing this, but she's like, you'd have to work with a lot of Mexicans. And I said, you know, I don't know. It's just when Mexicans see a white guy working, they always expect him to work extra hard. They do. It's like he's talking all his crap, he's gonna work extra hard. I was like, I didn't even say anything. Even though they're gonna be like, on your podcast you just did, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. All right, fair enough. You
you're
watch
gonna
my
work.
podcast? See?
You're gonna work extra hard now. As soon
Nah.
as you,
I
as soon
mean,
as you
people are
decide to work on
people.
that farm, you're gonna work extra hard. No, the thing is,
People are people.
when I was working extrusion before, there was some Mexicans on one side, and there were like other various guys on the other side. You know, different cultures and stuff. I would talk to the Mexican guys and be friendly with them, even though I didn't know Spanish. They understood me, and I kind of understood them to some degree. To the point that one of them constantly gave me his lunch every single night because he didn't like eating tacos every night. And I got pretty skinny that way, which just made me realize, like, oh, I got to eat Mexican food to get skinny.
Tacos y no quiero.
Well, it was like
¿Quieres
little.
y
It was
tacos?
it wasn't exactly tacos. It was like the really small, like this size shell, really small.
Taki. Street
Could,
tacos.
yeah, it could be, but it was just some
I got
meat
some of them upstairs.
and beans and stuff, and it was just very simple. You know, little tomato. Like he had little containers with that, and he would just give it to me and be like, yeah, eat all you want. Like I have this every day. And he was in his 60s. He was super skinny. Like he didn't care. You know, he just give it to me. But I mean, they were really nice. But I got along with them really well. The other guys, not so much. Like they didn't really. I guess they didn't like that I got free food. And I was.
Cabron.
They didn't like that I had free food most of the time. But my boss hated me.
Gringo cabron.
I don't know why. I don't know. But yeah, it was an interesting job. I don't think I'll ever go back to that though. But yeah, they're pretty friendly with that. But when it came to work, man, even if they didn't take it easy, they made it look easy when they were working. So even though they worked as hard as I did, the way they did it, it just looked easier.
Remember when Will Ferrell did that entire movie
they had
in
it
Spanish?
together. Like they didn't stress. I think the fact is most Americans will stress out about work while they're working. When I'm watching, the Mexican Americans work, that it's like, no big deal. They just knew how to do it very smoothly, very effectively.
What was that movie that Will Ferrell did the entire movie in Spanish?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he made an entire movie, and he spoke it too. It wasn't.
You're making
like
me think about Get the Gringo though.
Mel Gibson.
That's Mel Gibson though.
It did have the term gringo in it, I think. Like Gringos Locos or something like that. I don't remember.
Did you think Way of the Gun was a comedy? Because I kind of thought Way of the Gun was a comedy.
I never saw it.
What's about these guys? I think one of them is half Mexican, and they're trying to rob a mafia. And I think they ended up getting to Mexico, but they don't survive.
I
But
was gonna
like
say,
the
you know what else is a funny movie or a funny scenario is when somebody's not a comedian and it's in a funny movie. And I'm thinking of Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
yes,
Jackie Chan
yes.
is not a comedian, but yet he's just so funny in that movie because he's not a comedian.
Do you understand the
People are
words that are coming out of my
that
mouth?
make him is when people are
No,
comedians
don't no one
and they
understand the
play
words that come out of your
in
mouth.
funny movies. Let me think of somebody else who was not a
Remember that
comedian but played in a funny movie. Can you think of
Um,
somebody else?
a Christmas Carol, Christmas Story.
Oh man, how? But you know what? Just saying, you reminded me of Chevy Chase. You know, if we're gonna have this humor thing, Chevy Chase should just
Yes.
at least be mentioned. We should just go back to just naming comedians that
Yeah,
were really, really fun. But Chevy Chase and Bill Murray,
but that's what I was saying.
know.
Steve Martin with the whole trains, planes, and automobiles. When he goes up to uh, the car dealership woman, he's like, I want a
I'll be
fucking
honest, I never
car
actually saw
with
that
4
movie.
fucking wheels. Fucking, he just keeps swearing at her the whole time. And I want it right fucking now. She's like, well, I'm sorry, but you're fucked. And he's just the way he just goes off on it. It's just nuts. But I don't remember if you remember. Do you remember Trains, Planes, and Automobiles?
I actually never saw it. I mean, I know the movie.
You got to see that one.
That's why, because John Goodman's in that movie too, right? Isn't he? Or no?
It's John Candy, I think.
Oh, John Candy. Yeah, John Candy.
Or no,
I
no,
was
no,
gonna- I
no.
was-
It is, or maybe it is John. I can't remember. They both look alike. Their comedic styles are similar. They
John
look.
Goodman and John Candy don't look anything alike.
They kind of do.
But John Candy was great in Uncle Buck.
I think it's John
Uncle
Candy.
Buck?
Oh man, somebody's gonna ream me out on this later. I can't remember which one. I think it's John Candy though.
Well, is it Uncle Buck or is
Don't
it
look at me
Flintstones?
like that. Uncle Buck? Yeah, it looks like the guy from Uncle Buck.
Then that's John Candy.
Okay.
It is John Candy now that I think about it. Actually, I'm positive. John Goodman was not.
John Goodman's too old for that.
Yeah. Too young technically.
Yeah, they it's insane. He actually acts like one of those people that takes his shoes off and his socks off in the plane, and he takes his socks off, he starts waving it around, he's like, "Oh, that feels better." He has the stink. It's like rolling in your face. That is just disgusting.
Actually,
I don't know if you're into disgusting humor, like
with
toilet humor or
comedians, and we
anything.
were talking about political. I can't remember. Maybe you can remind me, because we were getting political and we were talking about comedians. What made Rosie O'Donnell famous? Because I don't remember.
She was a prostitute. That's why, initially. But like you were telling me, like the difference between men humor and women humor. And I think really what it comes down to is the fact that, I mean, this is my opinion here, but I think the fact that men have devoted themselves to humor for the most part, that they've become very good at with it, to the point that most of society, men and women, just kind of look at men like, I want a guy that's like, if you're on a dating site, there's 75% of them will be like, I want somebody that makes me laugh. That's like almost in every single profile you could ever look at. And that's just the way it goes. You know, when you look at a woman's profile from a man's point of view, you never even bother to care about that. It's just, you know, what do they like to do? Where do they like to go? You know, that sort of thing. I think it's
like the
just
opposite.
it's
I
been
want a
ingrained.
woman who's going to
It's been
laugh at my
ingrained
jokes.
in men and women for the longest part of time that I think there are definitely very good comedic women, and like you look at Scary Movie, and you look at a lot of different good women actresses, and they're very good with what they do. But it hasn't been as long, as what men have done. So I think that's the reason. It's just a longevity thing. If the
What do you
more
think about Jack Black?
I think he's kind of funny. I don't think he's like hysterically funny, but I think he's kind of funny. I mean, he's got a good comedic presence. He's got good actor presence, and I'd say something like Kung Pao, he's really funny in because he can like, kind of, he can character act. He sort of tries to method act, but I think he tries to character act something more so. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he takes on the character's persona and runs with it, versus like a method actor like Bruce Willis or Tom Cruise, where they portray themselves. They always portray themselves,
All
and
right.
whatever the hell they're
Let's
doing,
play
they
a
are
game.
themselves. What?
Let's play a game. One or the other. So if I were to
Oh,
say
let's play a
Jack
game.
Black or Adam Sandler,
How much you get my soundboard on? I can mess with this.
I'll say two comedians and then you say two comedians and we'll see Jack Black or Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler. He's Adam Sandler's like hit or miss. Some of the things I actually don't really like Adam Sandler's stand up.
Okay, Jack Black and Adam Sandler are kind of like not very popular anymore. Maybe more Adam Sandler.
Actually, Adam Sandler is fairly popular still. He does a lot of
Okay.
stand up, but I don't think his stand up's that funny.
Adam Sandler did mostly like recorded skits. That's what he got known for initially. The goat
I think
skit.
I know for Happy Gilmore Productions.
It was before that. I mean, there's tons of this stuff out there. I listen to this like all the time. There was the goat skit, the farting
What's the goat
therapist. What?
What's the goat skit?
He plays a goat, a talking goat.
I thought that was Jim Brewer.
Oh fuck no, that was Adam Sandler, and it was a cassette CD, or it was a cassette that I had that I would play, and there was A and B side, and it was pretty damn funny. Later on, I got the CD for it. You could listen to it, and it was just a record. It was just a comedy sketch recording. But I'd have to.
All right.
You could even look this up, and you'll find it.
Chris Kattan or Jimmy Fallon?
Chris Kattan. Jimmy Fallon isn't
Really?
even remotely funny, dude. Not even.
I don't know. I
No,
think people are
no.
too hard on Jimmy Fallon. I actually think
No. Even when he goes to SNL, he's just it's all just scripted. And as soon as Jimmy Fallon goes into the scripted mode,
Well,
he tries to make this presentation, but it cannot. He can't.
A Night at the Roxbury was super funny.
Yes.
I actually don't like Chris Kattan in almost anything other than A Night at the Roxbury.
Was he an animal though?
No, but that's another one I was gonna do. Rob Schneider or
Yeah, Rob Schneider. The Deuce Bigelow. Just remember that part where he's with the really tall woman that's like 8 feet tall, and this random dude from the crowd like, "That's a huge bitch."
This must be some kind of mistake. Did you say steak?
That almost killed me. He's going into her house and he's sitting on her chair, and it's like he's in a dollhouse because his feet are dangling off her chair. Oh, that was so funny. Deuce Bigelow was one of my favorite. I mean, he really brought out the humor in that part.
I actually like Rob Schneider's TV series of Real Rob, and he also did another one just called Rob, but it was in Spanish. But and I don't want to talk crap on Rob Schneider because I like Rob Schneider. But me and my wife thought, wow, Rob Schneider's wife is really, really attractive. And then we realized she's only like 35 or so, or not even like as old as us or something. We thought like, well, she's like the same age as Rob. Like,
Well, he's like 60
wow,
now.
he's got to be in his 50s at least. Maybe he's not. Maybe we're being mean, but yeah, no, I saw Rob Schneider's wife and we're like, wow, she's really attractive. This Mexican woman. Rob Schneider's married this Mexican woman, and she's very, very talented too. But then we realized that she's literally like, I think she's like 30 now, or 31.
Was she like
And we're
more
like,
than
wow.
20 years younger than him?
Yeah, and we thought, wow, she's really attractive because we were thinking that she
Okay,
was the
so
same age as Rob Schneider.
how far can you go? Because after you hit your 30s, I mean, there's not much more to learn. I mean, you know almost as everybody else, unless you're like a rocket scientist or like a complete strategist with something that you focus your life on. I mean, you intelligence wise, I think as soon as you hit like, it's either 28 to 32, there's not much more you can know than most people in the world, to the point that like you can't get along with them. I don't know. That's how I feel like what I've seen in my experience. But
What are you talking about? Dating and age differences, or?
yeah.
I suppose each.
I think there's difference with like generational gap. Like if you're like a whole generation ahead of a person, then you might not have the same things to talk about, because like what's important to this generation is definitely not important to yours if you're older. It's just like, I don't really care.
I wish I could remember the two people's names, Jonah Hill, but I can never remember the person's name that played with him in Superbad. I think his name's Evan something. Or
I
maybe
don't
that
know.
was his name in Superbad.
Never really watched that.
You ever watch Superbad? Really?
Nope. That's another generational thing. It's like, I don't care about it.
All right, what do you think of Napoleon Dynamite?
That came out at the cutoff point where I was kind of getting away from that generational thing, but I thought there was some definite funny parts in there. Like, oh, you got a whole 3 feet of air on that one.
A few funny parts.
Like,
I actually hated Napoleon. What about Mike Myers?
Mike Myers. You mean Goldfinger?
Austin Powers?
Oh, Austin Powers. I thought there was some funny stuff in there, and I like the Dr. Evil skits. I like the Mini-Me skits, that sort of like, it's just, it was bullshit.
James Bond parody is, I think that's as good as James Bond parody is ever going to get. But you know what I always liked in that?
And they made it, but the fact is they made it look real.
When he's looking behind him.
But dude, they made it look real with the fact that, British teeth are fucking horrible. Yeah. Like they made it look realistic like that. Like they're all really
Do you
bad.
remember that though? When
Like,
he's in his car and he's like looking behind him and he drives forward and everyone's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then he's like, sorry about that. And he like leans forward and he drives backwards. They're like, whoa, whoa. Like he's like hitting everything going back. Like, or you remember the camping scene when the shadows made it look like they were pulling stuff out of his ass. They're like, whoa. and the two guards are like, oh, like watching it. There was a few funny parts in all the Austin Powers movies.
I like the
Mike Myers isn't necessarily but
the crowning achievement. Dude, the crowning achievement for that movie was when Dr. Evil started to cry over the fact that he got him sharks with laser beams on their heads. He's like,
but there you go. Seth Green was in that. But
Seth Green actually brought out a lot of the comedy in there, and it's just like, it was just like normalized, but his normalized reactions to it were just gold.
All right. So Seth MacFarlane and I'm gonna be ashamed that I can't think of right off the top of my head who wrote The Simpsons. Oh
Matt,
my gosh.
Groening?
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Matt Groening?
I think it is.
Matt
Groening. Groening.
Matt Groening. He wrote Futurama too, I think, right?
Right, he did.
Um. Okay, so Seth
Seth
MacFarlane?
MacFarlane.
Seth
Seth
MacFarlane or
MacFarlane is
Matt
Family Guy.
Groening? Okay, so Seth MacFarlane did Robot Chicken. If we're looking at comparisons.
No. Seth Green did Robot Chicken.
Oh, I thought he did. Okay. Well, that's
Seth
a hard.
MacFarlane did Family Guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Matt. I love
Matt Groening.
Futurama. I mean, Homer
Futurama was good. I
Simpsons
don't
is
know though.
Simpsons was good for
That's
a while, but then it just continued, and
it
it's
just
like they drained it like an orange. There was nothing left besides the pulp. There was nothing. I mean, you did everything you could do.
I think they keep it on just to have the longest running animated series at this point.
It's
I mean,
for
it's good.
yes, it's for a
Still
trophy.
got its point. But I
Besides
mean, because
besides a butterfly
they
effect
know if they drop
episode,
it off that
besides a butterfly effect episode and the episode where they were trying to transport the '70s hot pants to the town, I don't remember a lot, and I've seen almost all the episodes. But like Futurama, I remember so many of the episodes, and they just crack me up because there's just so much intellectual humor just buried in there that you have to like think about it, and you're like, oh, and it. I
but
just
that
think there
could
was
just
so
be our
much more.
time
Like
period.
Family Guy is almost like a Simpsons in a way, but it's more depraved and
But even South Park, you can venture into those are the three animated funniest comedies in my mind: Family Guy, Simpsons, and South Park. And all three do the same thing. South Park didn't originate that way. South Park originated as just ideas, and then it turned into current events. Family Guy was always the current event kind of idea, and then The Simpsons led into current event ideas. They're all three current events.
okay, if I had to pick one that I
But
like the more out of those three, I'd say Family Guy's is better than The Simpsons, and Simpsons is better than South Park. And I know a lot of people disagree. There's so many people that love South Park, but South Park to me is just it's so uncoordinated and it's so random. And usually, like, that's always a good thing for comedy, but it's like purposely trying to attack certain groups a lot of the time to the point that you don't know whose side they're on at all. It's such a random
that's what Seth MacFarlane's good at. Seth MacFarlane will play both sides, and so is Matt Groening. I don't even know if Matt Groening still writes it or not, but I mean, that's why those three shows are so successful, because they talk about current events and they really don't ever pick a side. I mean, like, you think about things like Ashton Kutcher, you know, it's hard to watch him as a comedian anymore because where he stands so much politically that it's like, you know what, I don't like you anymore. I just don't like you as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to watch you. I mean, maybe some people will be like, oh, I really like him but like, I don't even think I finished this last season of The Ranch just because I don't know. I just less and
Well,
less
that's
like
what I was telling you
Ashton.
about Conan O'Brien. He like
Become
his whole entire series episode because he's so popular, and I've loved watching Conan O'Brien. When I was a kid, I would watch all the late night stuff when I wasn't supposed to. I would like wake up and just watch it on TV and stuff, you know. And Conan was one of my absolute favorites. Besides Craig Kilborn, when I was younger, Conan became like one of my absolute favorites. And almost all his episodes on Netflix are just constantly attacking the whole Trump wall. It's like, what is he doing? It doesn't. It like, and as soon as he got to the one with Mexico, like 20 minutes of it is him asking people about the wall. I was like, seriously, is it really just going to be filled with that much political stuff? It's just like when I watch what's his name? The guy that was on the
David Letterman's still funny.
well, yeah, but the guy that was on not the View, but you remember the View back then? What It was this one woman, and then turned into the
I
guy.
don't think we mentioned one female comedian though, too, other than Sarah Silver in the beginning.
I don't have a
Who's a
mind
woman
for
that's
names.
really
Like I can see
funny?
their faces when we're talking about. I'm seeing their face, but trying to remember it and say their name. It's always on the tip of my tongue. I can't say it. But not Craig Kilborn. What was the one dude? But he was in some TV series episodes too. You know, Community. He was the main guy in the Community.
I don't even know what that's from. Never heard of it.
He was a critic. He was a skeptic. Constantly belittle everybody on the show, on the E show.
What do you think about Ellen? Because Ellen's definitely not a Trump supporter, and you know my wife doesn't like Ellen, but actually every time I watch her, I think she's actually not. She actually can be pretty funny. She actually is like she does have funny parts in her, and I think she does kill it with Dory.
I never watch her though.
I don't
I
watch
don't.
her too much either.
Yeah, I don't.
It's less about humor and just about comedians.
I don't really care for her humor all that much. I mean, she tries to start off as.
I think some of the stuff she says can be funny now and then. I don't want to hate on Ellen. I mean.
Well, I'm not going to love on her. I don't see anything she does as funny.
She's not my favorite comedian, obviously, but I mean, my favorite comedy is always like random.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
like,
Brian Regan.
Drives me crazy when you're in a restaurant.
Okay, I probably have to mute this, but like Brian Regan, I don't think he's funny.
I don't think almost any of the stand-up comedians. I mean, Bill Burr. I think like
Bill Burr, Jeselnik.
The Family is funnier than his stand-up. I mean, I don't know. Like their stand-up can be funny now and then, but it seems too scripted. Even Dave Chappelle. I don't like stand-up comedy. I just don't think stand-up comedy is that funny. It's too scripted, and it's too.
There's some that are pretty good. Like
I like funny ideas.
I haven't seen the Tim Allen stuff yet. I saw some of Chris D'Elia.
There's that
and
Indian,
he's trying too hard.
Guy.
Tim Allen, I gotta see. Anissa Amelia, I gotta watch some of this actually. That looks kind of interesting.
I don't know. I guess he's not Indian. I shouldn't say he's Indian.
Joe Rogan can kind of be funny,
Eastern.
but Joe Rogan can kind of be funny.
Is funny. I
but
like Joe
sometimes
Rogan.
he tries to.
Sometimes.
Sometimes he tries to push the envelope too far,
But you gotta admire Joe Rogan in a sense.
I think I like
Joe
Christina
Rogan's
P. here. I think I liked her. Russell Brand can be pretty funny.
I'm not a big Russell Brand fan. I think he's
Jim Mullany. I like this guy. He's kind of cool.
I never watched him.
Ron White is a little too blah. Jim Gaffigan.
But you know what? When Ron White was doing the thing with the other three, I thought that was a good. That was the timing for all that to come out. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. When he was together with that
Blue collar.
Yeah,
tour.
that worked out pretty good.
That was pretty good. I won't be able to remember all the other.
Kevin James
guy
can
from
actually be
Artie's
pretty
Smarter Than-
funny in a stand-up sense. I think he was more funny in a stand-up sense than he is in
I do too.
in like
too.
his TV series, because he's just like he's playing the script, but him by himself, like when I watched the movie Paul Blart, it was kind of funny. Then he did Paul Blart 2 and I was like, really? I mean, this is
There's
not
a
even...
second one of those. It's called Mall Cop, by the way, but
Yeah, it's not. No, just
there was a second one of those things.
Okay, here's comedy. Here's comedy from me growing up that I enjoy.
Sometimes
Here's comedy
Hollywood
from me
really
growing
tries
up
to
that
make money off of people.
dude, here's comedy for me growing up that I enjoy and I think is very important to see. And I actually saw it on Netflix, and they said something like cringeworthy, or
Jim Carrey,
I'm like,
Adam
what the hell
Sandler,
are you
Will
talking about? No,
Ferrell.
like, uh, mall rats and Clerks. Clerks especially is very funny.
Good, good to touch
Clerks is
base on
very
that.
funny, but they had some kind of title to it, like cringeworthy. I'm like, are you fucking serious? There's no way. This is amazing. This is good, wholehearted comedy. Because
So,
like,
well, that there's a person who's like a comedian practically that you don't think is a comedian is what's his name? Ah, gosh, he was
guy
in
from
Clerks.
Clerks, the main guy,
No, not the two main ones.
the 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 register guy. I
No,
mean,
the
Jay and
most the
Silent
most
Bob.
famous the most famous guy. Maybe he wasn't in Clerks.
Well, I mean, Jay and Silent Bob became the most famous duo because of it, but
Who was the angel? Was it who was the angel?
that was the clerk, I think.
Do you know who I'm talking about? He also
Can't remember
did
the
the
name, but
movie with Matt Damon. Matt Damon and they like go hand in hand nowadays. He's also from Dazed and Confused. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? Oh, how sad. Who was the guy with Matt Damon?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Thank you. See how you do say Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck. Do you consider him a comedian?
No, I mean he's
Is it just because he's not funny, or is it because he's not a comedian?
he might have a comedic presence, maybe, but it's just the same thing. Like you might seem like kind of a funny guy. You might have some funny jokes every once in a while, but you're not a true comedian. I mean, true comedy comes from people that like set their lives up to just focus on that all the time. You know? And I
Did you
like
ever see
Ben
the movie
Affleck
Dazed
and
and
Matt
Confused?
Damon. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are not total comedians. Not like you remember the other guys? The movie The Other Guys?
Will Ferrell and oh gosh, why can't I think of his name too?
That guy.
Boston.
That guy. No, Mikey
Mark
Mike.
Wahlberg.
It's Mikey Mike. Mikey Mike,
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg. He is a true comedian and action entertainer, like all
Yeah,
in
Mark
one.
Wahlberg's funny.
Mark Wahlberg.
I think Mark Wahlberg never wanted to be a comedian, but he realized that he had to be. I don't think he was trying to be a comedian. Like, I mean, to be a comedian from Boston, like that's something. That's something.
That's like asking a guy in the Zodiac to be a comedian.
That's like looking at the movie Boondock Saints as a comedy.
Yeah.
He said, rule of thumb should have been rule of wrist. That big husband. Hughes.
Like yeah, so Mark Wahlberg, like an or earlier version of a comedian, would probably be like Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken could do some comedy.
Man, thank you for mentioning Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, what a comedian.
He could do action stuff.
To throw that in there, you made me think of The Wedding Crashers, which is Vince Vaughn. Who's Vince Vaughn with? 'Cause I can't even picture who the other brother was. Oh man, Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson is funny.
He is funny.
I mean, I really like Vince Vaughn too. I don't want to cut him short, but Vince, because
Owen
Vince
Wilson
Vaughn
he took center stage a lot.
Owen Wilson's he's a multi-skilled, because he did Behind Enemy Lines, and I thought he really did a great job in that.
So what do you think overall?
But,
Like the best comedians typically are the ones that are most multiversatile. Because you look at like Holmes and Watson, which I just saw, You have to see it. And John C. Reilly is not just a secondary
John C.
character.
Reilly and
He's like, they're so good together. It's like if I look at Chris Farley and David Spade, I'm
Will
like, you know
Ferrell and
what?
John C. Reilly are
Will Smith and John C. Reilly are just really good together,
Will Ferrell,
and they could
not Will
both
Smith.
they could both work independently and just be just
you.
fine. You know,
Will
like
Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
yeah, the Holmes and Watson overdoes the Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. They wanted to make
But
another movie.
John C. Reilly, even on his own when he did Walk Hard, and that's another comedian that is like not remembered anymore.
Was that with
Walk Hard when
the big
Walk Hard was in there
Hawaiian
when he was
dude?
making fun of
I think I remember that one.
and
No, he
Walk
wants
Hard.
he wants to be the president. What's his name? Hawaiian dude, big muscle dude. He's in a lot of movies. He was in Rampage. The main actor in Rampage.
I don't know.
Why can't I remember his name? I'm sorry. I'm gonna screw this up from now on because I can't remember his name. But
I don't know who Walk Hard. There's no Hawaiian dude in Walk Hard. That's when they're making fun of Johnny Cash.
No, I said Rampage. Johnny Cash.
Yeah, he makes a hit song, and he becomes. You ever seen Walk Hard?
I think I did. Dwayne Johnson. I can't remember. Why I can't
The Rock.
remember. The Rock, yeah.
That's not in Walk Hard.
I thought that was Walk Hard.
That's the other guys. With Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh.
Samuel L. Jackson's also a funny person.
Oh, okay.
You know, and you know,
I think
who's
there was
in
a
Walk
similar
Hard?
movie
Who's
that
in Walk
sounded
Hard
like that. Okay. All right. All right.
No, Walk Hard is when the guy he writes a hit song and he becomes like they're really. I mean, I feel like they actually make fun of Phil Collins in it a little bit too, but they're making fun of Johnny Cash.
Freddie
He gets
from,
involved with drugs. From what?
You think they made fun of Freddie from Queen, lead singer of Queen? Because I saw the Queen movie.
I don't know. They do a lot. I mean, they. But you know, and you know who's in that movie that he's just not in enough movies because he's so funny is Tim Meadows. You remember Tim Meadows, the ladies' man?
Yes.
I mean,
he's damn good.
Tim Meadows is one of those, like, he's such a good actor. I mean, dude, he's such a good actor, and I don't know why Will Ferrell doesn't have him in more movies.
Well, that reminds me of Gene Wilder and what's the guy that they played in Blind
Enemy of the State?
No. It was a comedy. It was See No Evil, Hear No Evil. And it was Gene Wilder.
That's old.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty old.
You getting into that, you got to get with like Sean Penn and stuff. Even Al Pacino could be funny.
Yeah. Richard Pryor. That's what I was trying to say. Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor.
Oh,
yeah, we didn't get it. We didn't get into enough black comedians. Like Martin
Richard
Lawrence.
Pryor, Gene Wilder. That was one of the best ever performances that I remember, as far as comedy goes. That is comedy gold right there. If you watch See No Evil, Hear No Evil, you will laugh your ass off because this is just.
Martin Lawrence was one of those comedians I actually never thought was that funny. and I could get a lot of hate from it because there's times when I
No,
do think
I'm
he's
I'm
funny.
kind of with you on that one. I never.
I do think he's funny, and I do
I think
think
he's got
like
decent comedic.
he's a really great person. Like apparently he's done a lot in the comedy world, and he's introduced a lot of, you know, like he's renowned for like finding comedians and stuff like that. But like when it comes down to like black comedians, like I like Steve Harvey. I think Steve Harvey's super funny. I don't know. He makes me. We can't even like me and my wife can't even watch something without laughing. Steve Harvey, we can't even watch the what's the show that he does right now? The
Like Family Feud.
yeah, Family Feud. We can't even watch Family Feud because we're laughing at everything he says too much.
I have to say that Richard Pryor's
Those,
still my favorite out of.
well, Richard Pryor's funny. Yeah, I mean, I can't say.
I mean
Richard Pryor's not
that
funny.
performance he does is just one of the best. I mean, I don't even want to
We
name
were
all the
talking about-
scenes
we were
because it's
talking
just so
about
good.
Chris Rock before. I mean, Chris Rock has his few moments that I think Chris Rock is funny.
Chris Rock is kind of funny.
But,
I'd say Dave Chappelle is like the newest, pretty much
That's
the
true. I
greatest.
mean, yeah, it's true. I don't even know. I guess Dave Chappelle is just so racistly. I forget that he's black. I don't know.
I don't see it. I don't see it as that though.
I forget. He doesn't like justify himself as.
I guess if you want to say it, you can, but I don't
doesn't-
see him as doing that. I just think he's making light of the scenario to the point that he's like, opening it up so that people aren't so upset about things. I think he's like loosening, up the bowels of society so everybody can laugh and jiggle a little bit over things. Just
Well, that's what I was saying. There's that Middle Eastern comedian that they have, and he
You're not
talks
talking about
about like real
Aziz, right?
political. Yeah, Aziz Ansari. No, not Aziz Ansari. He's funny too, actually. I like Aziz Ansari. It's a
Okay.
shame what happened to him. You heard what happened to him? You know what happened to him about the date where he basically like the girl never said no, and he kept like pushing himself on the girl, and then like she makes this horrible thing that he like was super forward with her and all this and that, and it's like everybody took his side. Everybody was like, why didn't you just say no? And but like his career got like really smashed from that. I actually like Aziz Ansari because he was with what was that show called? That show was really funny. Where they were the park rangers,
that was a spin-off from The Office.
Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation, yeah.
What is that a spinoff?
I just remember the part where he's like rapping, he's like syphilis, and everybody's just looking at him like, why would you say
They always
that?
did that. Treat yourself.
I don't even know what the purpose of that joke was. I was like, okay,
What's
maybe
his
it's funny
name
to
is in
some
that-
people,
in that
but-
show, too. I mean, you got the guy. His name is Ron, but I can't think of what his real name is at the moment.
Ron Burgundy.
He's really funny. Well, that's not his real name.
No,
Ron
that's Will.
Burgundy's the name of Will Ferrell from
Yeah, I know.
Anchorman.
Ron
You got Steve. That's
Harvey?
another comedian. Really funny. Is Steve Carroll? Is that his name?
Oh, Steve Carell.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Steve Carell. He's in The Office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's pretty funny.
he has a movie
And he's a
coming
really,
out.
he's a
that's
really
out
good
right
actor,
now.
Too.
Do you know about that movie he's got out right now?
No.
Okay, he gets beat
I
up
don't
by a
have- I
bunch.
don't have cable.
He gets beat up by a bunch of random people. They mess up his brain to some degree that he can't function normally anymore. And he's got all this imaginary scenarios that he's trying to work with to become normal again. But the way it goes about, he has to have friends to help him out so that he can go to court to fight these other people. At least that's what I was able to tell from the previews. I haven't been able to see it, but it looks interesting.
Sounds interesting is the only way. That getting back on the humor idea, like Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel when they first came up with the Man Show,
Oh
which I feel
my
like was just like I
gosh.
feel like that was a basic spin-off of
That wait, a big
of the what was the show on Home Improvement that they had with Tim the Toolman Taylor?
the man cave or the man.
It
Didn't they have a
wasn't. I don't
man
think there's
show?
even a man in it. I don't think there's a term man in it.
They had a man show on it, didn't they?
Well, it wasn't a man show, but it was like a show for men. You know what I mean? They had the good-looking girl, and then they talked about tools, and Tim was always like, oh,
They always had Heidi there,
yeah,
right?
Heidi was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember her name? You can't remember the name. Can't remember the name of the actual show,
No.
but you can remember the name of the chick who. But no, I feel like that was like the man show, like spun off of that idea. Like everyone's like, oh man, I wish there was a show. And I actually watched
My
some of
favorite
the man
part,
show.
though, even with all that going on, and you probably sound weird, but it's the Ziggy Zaga part.
Well, that was the two classic
The
things.
old
You had
guy comes out, he drinks a whole
pounded
entire glass
two
of beer.
beers.
Like, how does he do it? He can do it every time.
I think, pretty sure he died. But I don't.
He died doing that?
No, not. I don't even think he died from drinking the beer. Man, he
Well, of
pounded
course,
those beers
he's old.
down, and people were always like, "Oh, I could drink them faster." It's like maybe you could, but like, I mean,
No.
that guy set a good bar. You know, maybe
He
you could
drank
drink
2
them
whole
faster.
glasses of beer. Like,
He
that
drank
was
2
that.
whole beers every episode like that, instantaneously, and then it would always go right after that to girls jumping on trampolines. Actually, it was funny because when I watched
is that the
first
basis
couple
of our
episodes again,
humor
I thought,
that us
this
as men in
show's
society
stupid.
want overall? We want to see the stupidest, because it seems like the stupidest, most depraved things we can imagine is the most popular. Is that really where our minds are? Are our minds always in the gutter as a human society?
Well, when it comes down to comedy, I mean, there's a time and there's a
So then
place,
you're
and
answering yes. Okay.
sometimes I feel like politics have learned that comedy can, manipulate situations. You use comedy to kind of create, like a door. If you can, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can ease something in, and you just pretend that there's comedy involved. Then people can be like, "Oh, I'm relating to this," and this is how the comedian handled it. I don't think it was you who I was talking to this about, but we were talking about that, like how TV has like really manipulated this with these stories. Are you still getting me? Because my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, I'm still hearing you.
No,
I decided to be a
we were talking about that though, that like
to freak you out.
that like everything on TV is not true. I mean, you can have said
Most
true
things
stories,
on TV are a fabrication of a lie.
but
the
there's
fact is
stories
most
that
people
didn't
do-
actually happen.
What?
I'm just saying, there's stories that didn't actually happen, and people watch them, and they add them into their brain like it was a real story that did happen, despite you even knowing that it was that it was fiction. Actually, not that it was fiction. You kind of added into your brain that it really happened, that this particular thing happened, and this is how they handled it. And when you get into these comic ideas, you start thinking like, well, this is how I should handle it. And I think that more and more we're starting to handle things with like comedy. Everybody's
yeah.
just kind of like, handle it as a joke. And I think that's why like things aren't getting done, because we're all just brainwashed. We're just generally brainwashed on the overall factor. I mean, it's crazy. YouTube could have been anything, and you know that there are helpful videos, but the general video is comedy. And
Well, yeah, because it's the most relatable thing. I mean,
the most popular YouTuber is PewDiePie, and PewDiePie is not a news broadcast. He's a comedian. He's just funny. And that makes you think, the most popular person that people are using YouTube for is a comedian. I don't even think PewDiePie's that funny. I think some of the stuff he says is funny. I'm not saying he's not never funny, but I don't think he's
I don't think you
nearly.
have to be like an amazing comedian or anything like that to get people to enjoy your humor. You just have to be somewhat humorous to some degree. You know, if you are very humorous, you make money off of it. Most people don't. You know, so you got to be just slightly humorous sometimes, and then
Yeah,
you're
and
seen as funny.
I don't think you could ever see PewDiePie venture away from anything but YouTube. He can never be like a stand-up comedian. He's funny. Don't get me wrong. Some of the stuff he says is funny, and I genuinely laugh.
I think the way he edits things
But
is funny, but
right,
I think he in the past sent me something to see if he could use some of my videos to, or else it was his stand-in. I don't know what it was, to use some of my videos somehow, some kind of comedic presence or something like that. I didn't respond, but because at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to do anything like that. But I think when you get to some of the comedy acts and things like that, you'll see, like, especially now with a lot of YouTube, you've got a lot of editing that goes in. You'll see a lot of these videos will just like jump to one thing, jump to another thing, and it takes away the whole value of like random comedy and turns it into like a presentation of sorts. And that's what PewDiePie, I think, he got known for, because I saw some of his other videos where he's like, this is how you know, make a video with the PlayStation. You stick your recording software into this potato and you hit the play button, and then like he had something else edited and it looked kind of funny to watch. But it wasn't like, it's like how I do with a lot of my videos. Like, I'm editing different parts to make it look interesting.
this
And it comes
this
down to
gets back to
editing.
what
It's
I
not
was
like,
originally saying.
not an improv thing.
This gets back to what I was originally saying about YouTube, and again, because we're probably not going to be monetized, I can say like this. YouTube
Well, hell
makes
no, not
more
right now,
money
no.
with less. YouTube makes more money with less famous people. If you have 10 people that each have 10, million followers, it's much easier for people to follow those 10 people on a daily basis versus 10,000 people with 1,000 followers each, because nobody's watching 10,000 videos a day. So we were talking about this, that it's
Well,
potential
no,
that
not one person, no.
it would be more beneficial for YouTube to receive what's
As a normalcy as far as other things are concerned, but the fact is, this is a platform that caters to multiple different types of persona and different types of people and different types of interests. So they have to keep it multi-platformed for the most part of their life. Otherwise, the more they cut down, like I'm noticing, the more they cut down on that and make it like, oh, we're only going to cater to this person or that person, they're going to destroy themselves from within, and other video things are going to come out, and other people are going to talk about, and other YouTubers are already talking about other video formats that they're going to, because they're like, we're slowly moving towards this thing because YouTube is going to literally, stick us in the back with a knife, and we're outsies. And if you want to see us, come over here. I'm watching this happen because YouTube is slowly trying to kill off most of the creators because they're looking for the dollar end. But the point of the beginning of YouTube wasn't for the dollar end of YouTube. It was for the creators. And that's what people came here for. So I'm looking strategically into the future, and I'm just seeing that this is going to be a big pile of dung, and we're going to move on to a different platform.
That YouTube has these people that watch a lot of these videos to make sure that there's no, kind of content. And when people find things that are funny, or not, that doesn't necessarily be funny, but that, when people find things that are this or that, they forward these ideas to more popular people, and those people can decide if they want to make a video. Now they have because that's the thing. I don't mean to be mean, but I just don't personally think that a lot of these really popular YouTubers are as creative, or I think that they come up with a funny idea, everybody follows them. Wow, they got 600,000 views. They seem very
And I
likable,
think you're right.
and 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 then what happens is, oh, everybody's waiting for that next video, but it's not coming because the person says, well, I was like a one-hit wonder. I made a funny video. I don't have thousands of other funny videos. And they realize this, and they realize that we can't just keep searching around for the funny videos. People aren't finding them. We're getting 700,000 different people with 1,000 views, and that's not making us any money. What we need to have 7 people with 100,000 views, and that'll make us more money. So they influence these people. Hey, this was a funny thing that we saw in this video from these random nobodies. I'm just letting you know. They're going to make it. You could say you came up with that idea first, but it really doesn't matter that you came up with that idea first. They're not plagiarizing it from you. It's a free market idea. They can just take that idea from you if they want to. And now all of a sudden 100,000 people, 1 million people are seeing that video. YouTube's making the money from the monetization.
Well, just like you said with Amy Schumer. She found a bunch of random people that she liked and copied it specifically, step by step, for some of those things.
But watch those videos. She's messed up. Dude, she went on the Ellen show and basically re-quoted the joke that Ellen said back in the 90s to Ellen. And you see Ellen's face, like, she's like, yeah. Like, you could tell Ellen was a little bit, like, she wasn't going to make a scene on the thing, but she was pissed. Ellen was pissed.
Well, of course.
Like, you could see it. She was like, it had to do with popcorn. She's like, oh, when I see popcorn, I just want to blah, 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 and eat it like this. And Ellen, you could see Ellen's face like, that was my joke. And you're just going to go on my show and get laughs on my joke?
Know. I've seen people like this before.
Like, what's
I know people like this. They will take your stuff, stuff it in your face until everybody else is theirs. And it's ridiculous. There are people like this, and and because they end up somehow constantly putting themselves out there to acquire more people to watch them, everybody thinks it's theirs. But the fact is, people that are usually people at the top don't have any of their own ideas. They've taken it from somebody else. And they stripped it from somebody else, and they've used it for themselves, and they act like they know, they're creative when they're not.
And I don't necessarily think there's anything like borderline.
I think there's a lot wrong with that. I do.
All right. But I'm saying back and forth. Like, if you were to find that Dave Chappelle's friends came up with half of Dave Chappelle's skits, okay, he surrounded himself with funny people.
But that's his friends. That's not his possible rivals. That's not possible other people out there.
I guess
that's his friends. Like if you gave me ideas that I used for my stuff, and you were okay with it and you didn't complain, and I mentioned you sometimes or something like that. Like, oh, I heard this from one of my cool friends, and that's a whole nother story. But if you just randomly taking things from there's like even I think there's like a pop evil song that took a bunch of different lyrics from different things I even saw on Facebook and made it into a video. It's like, really? Just gonna steal random quotes from people and just turn it into your own.
With Amy Schumer, dude, it'll sicken you. It'll sicken you. You'll be like, I never want to see Amy Schumer in anything ever.
I guess that's why it makes sense. A lot of people are upset with her.
People were annoyed by her stand-up comedy or her TV show that she had, but like Netflix pulled it, and I think part of the reason they pulled it was because they knew people were really, really annoyed about the plagiarism. Like, people knew. I mean, maybe it was because she said that her sister came up with a lot of the skits and stuff, and maybe she did. Well, then your sister's plagiarizing. We don't care whose who's doing it, but you have to. I mean, you
gotta
have to
own
know
up.
the videos about you on the internet. You have to know, and you have. I mean, if you see the videos, there's no denying it. You might as well just come forward and be like,
You gotta
"There's a
own up to
lot of
that shit.
similarities." You know,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, oh, it's disgusting how many videos of her are like, I mean, you name it. You name it. Almost every joke she's made, there's like another video of like the same exact joke being made, said by somebody else. Like, it's sickening. You will laugh so hard at how bad it is. Like, you're thinking, like, how is this woman not caught? How is this not like much more publicized? And it's like, well, I guess this does have like 500 some thousand views.
Well, I mean, if you
So-
have the money to pull images or pull conversations off the internet, off of searches and stuff, you can keep it from other people from seeing it. You know, I think that does happen to some degree, but yeah, I mean, if it, comedy is always supposed to be original. Problem is, your head's full of smoke. And you know, we look to the future, dude. Like, how far into the future are we gonna go? Whereas there's nothing that's never been done under the sun. I mean, I'm sure that if we look back in the past, like Mork and Mindy, and we look back to Dick Van Dyke times, and we look back to Abbott and Costello, and the Three Stooges, and other things like that, it will be like, well, we've repeated this before. But when are we getting to the point that
All right.
we've repeated it, and it's like,
Let me ask you
I
this.
immediately remember where this comes from, whereas now...
Let me ask you this. If Talladega Nights came out in 1900s as like the first flick, you know, it's like, oh, we have this new
like a black and white
movie,
flick,
and
like Charlie Chaplin.
who cares?
You know,
All right, let's just go. All right, forget the 1900s. Let's go with the 90s. Color just came out because I'm not trying to avoid color. But Talladega
1960s.
Nights comes out. Do you think that people in the 1960s would laugh at Talladega Nights, or do you think they would be like, I don't get it?
They would be upset because it's so stupid and over the top with its humor. It's not just zany, it's stupid humor. Like, if I want to talk about zany humor, I would talk about Kung Pao. I don't know if you've seen that, but it is full of zany humor. It's from the writer that did Ace Ventura and I think some other.
I didn't
Jim
like
Carrey.
the first Ace Ventura, but Pet Detective, When Nature Calls, When Nature Calls, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was Steve Odenbach or I can't remember his name. It started with an O, but he did this movie called Kung Pao, and he redubbed a dubbed over movie that was a Chinese dubbed over movie with his own dub, and he replaced certain parts of it to fit with his own particular
Well, that's like Djibouti Dubs.
piece. Yes, it's exactly
seen
like
Djibouti
Djibouti
Dubs?
Dubs, but before Djibouti Dubs was Djibouti Dubs. He did that, but in a movie
But
scale.
Djibouti Dubs is funny.
I'm just saying, like he did that, and that type of zany humor, not stupid humor, but zany humor, because Djibouti Dubs is zany too. It's just, I love it. You know, it's exactly what I'm looking for. It's like Leslie Nielsen with, Police Squad.
Djibouti Dubs only has so many voices that he does, and this and that, but he is funny. I mean, the sham wow and stuff like that, dude. He
the copper stuff, or the Guy Ferrari where he overdoes that. You know, the copper pans. Just
I mean, he's funny. Apparently, he's really ventured out even more. I haven't watched any of his. I should actually subscribe to him because I would enjoy watching some of his stuff. I forget to subscribe to people all the time, but
yeah, it's
he's
good.
Pretty funny.
It's pretty good
He's
stuff.
pretty funny.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Comedy. comedy is an ever-growing thing. I mean, and I think it's just, I think we're not gonna get over this hurdle of, um, culture. I think we'll still have our comedians. Like you told me to watch that comedian, that was a great way of putting it. The way that he did it, he said, I would never say stuff like this, but
Ricky Gervais. You saw it?
yeah, I watched some of it.
Oh,
But you
that's
say,
exactly what I wanted to
or
get
he
to.
would
It
be
was
like,
my
he'd be
main
like,
point of conversation for
when he
here.
was saying, like, he said, like, the joke was off color. He's like, I don't even want to repeat it. Well, maybe I have to repeat it just so you guys understand what we're talking about. He said, let me just tell you the joke, and you can decide if you think it should or shouldn't be said. I mean, that's comedy gold. That's very, very intelligent way
Yes.
of wording things to get your jokes across, but
Because
act like you're not. Still trying to be politically correct, even though these jokes are just
he's
horribly,
acting
horrible
like he's
jokes.
not going to tell you to not hurt your feelings, and then he finds a way to tell you where you're like, okay, I'll take it. Just like, and then he just says it. He's like, I don't mean to upset you, but I
It's
had to
harder
say
and
it.
harder.
I had to say it.
I personally think though that the easiest comedy is offensive. I think that when you're trying to offend somebody, that's the easiest comedy. I mean, stereotypes are so out there, and they're so obvious, and you can pick up on these stereotypes
And yeah,
instantly.
dude, it's true because like if I saw somebody with an ascot or a giant scarf like thing, I would talk to them for a while as if it was just like the best thing in the world, all the while being deeply sarcastic, which I have done. and just wait for them to figure it out after a while.
I mean,
It's
you
just
think-
I'm being offensive, but I'm being
do you think humor? Do you think humor, other than offensive humor, is like a lost art anymore? I mean, do you think we'll
well,
still
like
be
what
able
you're
to
telling me with
find?
the Seinfeld stuff, with the whole, the soup Nazi thing. That it was just a very situational thing. That's situational humor. That's not. It's offensive to the people in the situation at the time, but it has no offense going into the future or into the past as far as anybody's particularly
But
concerned.
again, I'm saying knock jokes, and why is six afraid of seven, and when's a dentist's favorite time of the day? Popsicle stick joke. Do you know when a dentist's favorite time of the day is?
What?
2:30.
Oh, okay.
So you still laugh. You still
Well,
laugh.
yeah, I'm
It
just
probably
saying,
came out
it's-
over 100 years ago, and you can still get a chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
It's still fun. But do you think that kind of comedy has hit its point where it's gone? It's gone nowadays.
I think people have decided that they don't want. Here's the thing. I think people decide what they want to do, with comedy and with a lot of things. And I think people have decided to be overly offensed to comedy, even though it may not be overly offensive. And I think in the past, people decided they were going to make humor that wasn't offensive and they knew how to do it. And it's not just getting away with it. It just happens because you create something that doesn't hurt anybody and it only helps. Nobody can argue with it, So that kind of humor that you're telling me about,
Well,
completely inoffensive to anybody for any reason whatsoever. So yeah, of course, people are going to look at it like it's gold because it can't hurt anybody. It can only help. But people decided not to recreate that. People decided to go jump to the stars, go as high as possible to make the most crude and offensive joke imaginable.
comedy,
to just
all right, but you have to
see
think
what
of it
people
this way,
do.
too. Current event comedy is like almost a bit safer because you can say, well, it hasn't been decided yet. What's the right or wrong decision on this kind of concept? You can say, oh, with the gay stuff, you can still, but nowadays actually there's less and less comedy about gays because the gay situation's kind of been fairly resolved. So, but the transgender situation hasn't. So now you get into the comedy of the transgender situation. But you start to think, okay, you've seen a few comedies about, Nazism and stuff like that, and you can make, but are there certain things that just there's no way you can joke about it. I mean, there's certain
You get
things.
to a point where you're, and this is what people will ask a lot, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this riddle here is as soon as you start as soon as you start making fun of something that isn't fully accepted, everybody can jump on it. But as soon as it starts to get fully accepted, then everybody starts to slowly pull away from it, like the whole transgender thing, where it's like, well, I don't know if I want to be on that, boat, because when it sinks, I'm going down with it, and so people slowly pull away from it. But anything that could be considered comedy, and it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter the time frame, just whatever isn't purposefully popular is not going to work out too well. And so that goes with everything too. But in the same fact, it kind of screws over a lot of things, because the fact is, if people wanted to make fun of this particular sexuality or that particular sexuality, they should be within their full rights to, knowing the repercussions of some people aren't going to enjoy it. But then the same fact is like
If you know that your comedy is only going to really influence
like
50,000
look at how
people.
many times people would make fun of retards or people with Down syndrome or something like that, and that's gone on for so long. And some people with those conditions will still accept that particular kind of comedy because they're like, yeah, I got it. I understand, as long as you don't try to hurt me too bad, I'm okay with some of it. But like, you got to be able to kind of roll with the punches sometimes, especially if you have something like that. It's like life, Some people will get into, I hope you understand where I'm coming from, but do you see what I'm kind of saying there? Like, you could be like what you were telling me before. Like, it's not good to be fully on one side or the other, because if you're on one side or the other, when you're on the one side, you can't appreciate the humor that's attacking your side. You only appreciate the humor that's attacking the other side, because you're religiously bound to it, and that's where you have to like kind of open up yourself and be like, okay, I can laugh at myself somewhat because maybe this side of me is a little, not.
Well, people don't budge anymore. People have their opinions. They don't really budge anymore.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm trying to say about like, give me an example of something that is not allowed to be. There's no place for it with comedy.
Well, it's like if you were to say the N-word. That we all know that. That is, unless you're Dave Chappelle and you're doing your own particular show where you're able to do that sort of stuff, that's something that I would not see as appropriate.
So I mean, that's an interesting concept. Like only a minority,
because that is definitely a hate word.
But only a minority is really going to be able to make extremely racial things, on it, and that's, I mean, I suppose that's a good idea on it.
That's the best thing I can think of right now, and I think that's one of the main points. Like, if you have a word that is purposefully hateful, and you're going to try to normalize it to a degree, and sometimes this happens with generations. With different words in the past, some words in the past were definitely not looked upon with any bit of kindness, and slowly it became accepted, over time. But I think definitely there are certain words that should not be associated with comedy to the point that it's laughable and you can laugh along with it. I think the N-word is one of those. And yeah, so.
Well, I mean, all right, like cancer. Can you make jokes about cancer?
I
I mean,
it's a
is there
touchy
any
it's
is there any
a touchy
skit that you
subject.
know where
It's a
somebody's
touchy
making
subject, but
joke
people.
about cancer?
I'm just saying, people make jokes about death all the time. So
People make jokes about AIDS, and it gets involved in the gay scenario. People crack jokes about it still. They're again, you have a smaller viewer. Damn, I'm
I've
not
known
gonna name
people,
this.
I've had family members that have had cancer. I think the fact is it really comes down to, and I think it really comes down to personal sense in a lot of ways. Because, like, if I had cancer, then I wouldn't, well, I could understand people joking about it, but I wouldn't feel as in tune with the joke, if I didn't have
and
it.
again,
And there's
like,
things
like,
there's
like,
things that I have that I don't, go around talking about, but if people make fun of that, in the past I might think it's kind of funny, but then once I learn to realize that I don't think it's quite so funny, but I can laugh at it if it doesn't, bear me down too much, and I can laugh at
But that's
myself.
that same
Like,
thing.
I think it comes
Isn't
down to
it
the fact
funny?
is, like, you got to learn to
can't
laugh
crack
at
a
yourself
joke
a
about
little bit.
cancer. There's no real jokes about cancer, but you could definitely crack a joke about Alzheimer's. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're not
Because the fact is they're going to forget the joke.
maybe not, dementia.
They probably forget the joke. I mean, I've known some people with that, and they half the time they forget even who I am. And I guess it doesn't sound right, but they might forget it, and I don't know. Do you think that's wrong or what?
Well, I guess that's what I'm trying to say is this is the argument of okay, well, if you're not going to make a joke about cancer, you definitely shouldn't make a joke about overweight people just the same.
Well,
and that's died down. Really, that's died down.
There's
Making a
like
joke
so many
about
people
some
make jokes
overweight,
about
unattractive woman.
So many
is
people make
really-
jokes about overweight and stuff, and they'll basically say, like, even if you watch Bill Burr, he's like, you put it in you, you could walk it out, like, you can, find a way to lose it, and I think there's a good amount of truth to it. I think it depends on how much you exercise and how much time you have for it, how much energy you have, and how much confidence you have. So there's a lot of different scenarios.
Weight is a mathematical equation. Everything breaks down into calories. We've done this scientifically, and you can burn
How much you
down
put
more
in,
calories.
how much you take out.
Burn down more calories than you eat. You cannot physically be gaining weight. I mean, you can't. It's not. It just physically is not possible. If you eat less calories than you work off, that you're going to gain weight. It's just physically not possible. I mean, we know this pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you get it. Like, I watched this video the other day with Dr. Phil, and
you know what?
even
Dr. Phil is, to me, one of the
Dr. Phil's
funniest
a promoter.
one
He's
of the
like a-
funniest guys out there. And it's not that he's funny because he's got a comedic presence. It's just the way he presents himself. It just seems so stupidly normal that you should just listen to what he's saying because he's right. But it feels comedic in a sense. The way he talks to people.
Well,
it's just like,
he sometimes
you should
does
just
say
know
things that are-
this,
He said, what did he say? He said, because he was talking about this woman who was eating too much, and her sister was like trying to be like, she eats healthier than I am. He goes, you need to be checked into like a hospital or something if you think she eats healthier than you. And he's like, let me explain to you what she eats on a daily basis. And he starts going through this scenario. And he goes, and that only lasts. He's like 6 eggs, a half a pound of bacon and this and that. And he's like going through. He goes, and that lasts her 45 minutes. He goes, probably the amount of time it took to make the food. And I'm thinking, like, damn, Dr. Phil, like, do you really care about this person? Or you just really like you don't need the overweight person to also.
Well,
now
the thing
suffer
is, he
from depression.
laces into people. He really laces into them to the point that
But
is
you
like
think that bad baby stuff? You know what I'm talking about?
he's bringing them down in a mental sense that they can appreciate the stupidity that they've gone through to the point that they just
You know who
listen
I'm
to 'em.
talking about though? The Catch Me Outside girl. Catch Me Outside. How about that? You know what I'm talking about? Dr. Phil had this girl on who was like borderline should have been on the Steve Wilkos show for going to the military and stuff like this. But that's what she said. She's like, she started telling the audience, she's like, catch me outside. How about that? Like, you know, like catch me outside, you know, like I'll see you outside, you know, but she's hood. I mean, she's a white girl, but
Was you gonna fight them all to the death?
but she anyway, Dr. Phil is like, oh, you know, you're unexcusable, you know, your behaviors. But she's like making millions now as the rap artist. Like she's decent, you know. She's only 15 or 14. I think she's 15 now, 15 or 16. And she's got, you know, she's making money. She's like worth like 10 million now. And she's a rap artist. And I just think that, you know, I think that they always knew this chick was like a born to be star. And that's why they put her on the Dr. Phil show. They never cared about her problems. It was like a money market scheme. They knew that girl.
Yeah.
You know, what about the kid who smacked his mom in the face, you know? Remember that? He was like, how do you like it? He smacked his mom. And it's only because his mom smacks him.
Well, yeah, here's the thing about Dr. Phil's. They've got this... Dr. Phil sort of... It seems like he's sort of like a country boy, doctor-ish type personality where...
The ratings were going to Steve Wilkos and Jerry Springer. And then real Judge TVs like Judge Judy.
I'm
and
just
stuff
saying
like that.
that's
he
why
had to sell out.
I'm just saying that's why everything is strategic in a sense. He's got this kind of country boy, I'm gonna help you out, but I'm gonna make you feel like shit while I do it kind of feel.
But I don't even
people
think he
wanna
wanted to do that because when Dr. Phil was on Oprah, he was never like that.
I'm just saying that's the way he is now. That's what it's a twisted type of scenario that's interesting because it's very different. And then they
I don't think if Oprah came on now, if they introduced Oprah now, the show would fail in a heartbeat.
Of course. It's too open. I don't know.
Yeah, it's boring. It'd be boring.
Well, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that it's the same concept with comedy, though. You know, to get back, I don't want to cut you off. I didn't mean to. If you were making a point, just cut me off anytime. But it's the same concept with comedy, though. That, you know, it's all about the ratings, and when you can see what's funny, you know, oh, everybody's watching this one skit. Why? What's funny about this? They're going to attempt to redo that particular idea over and over again. And I mean, I personally think algorithms have destroyed not just comedy, but everything in TV.
Well,
everything.
I mean, they basically are destroying a lot of YouTube because there's things that I've noticed with some of my older videos that somebody else has taken the idea or entirely everything that I've said, put it on their channel, and they were able to make like, I don't know, thousands of views off of it because the algorithm tries to work for the popular YouTuber, or the algorithm tries to work for the popular person because they think that if the one person has these views, that's going to make YouTube the bigger dollar. But the fact is, it's really going to confine. I'm looking at the overall, the over-under, as far as, you know, I'm always looking strategically at things. Over under, you turn YouTube into TV, all the people that are in YouTube are going to vomit away from YouTube and create their own thing. Be like,
right,
this to YouTube and move over to Zoom or move over to some other platform, they'd be done. And then YouTube will turn into what is cable, and all the regular people that are like, I don't care what I watch, I just want to watch something. They'll watch it. They'll pay a subscriber fee, and they'll be into it. But most people that want creativity are going to completely leave and go somewhere else. this
I
is what will
personally think
happen.
when it comes to comedy,
Just
when
telling
it
you.
comes to comedy on YouTube, people don't want to see something longer than 2.5 minutes. I mean, they don't. We don't want to build up. We want to watch something quick and joke about, like Cyanide and Happiness. You ever seen? You ever read those little quotes, or even seen the
If you
TV
want
show?
some small stupid comedy, then yeah, that's what you want. And that's what ended up being Vines, and that's what ended up being a lot of the other types of comedy in the past, and back in 2009 and later. That's
Yeah,
what it
that's
was.
what I like. Before 2010, which is what I said. After 2010, comedy just dropped.
Yeah.
Not saying that there weren't funny things that came out after 2010. I'm saying that it's lost.
Well, that's the type of humor
it's
that generation wanted at that time, you know, and that's
I
the
mean,
way.
Superbad came out. Superbad came out at that point in time, and like, how funny was Superbad? And then even earlier than that, you had like Super Troopers. You remember Super Troopers?
I saw it. I thought it was decent. Not my favorite. A lot of other people I knew.
I mean, it
did
wasn't
like
my
it.
favorite either. It wasn't my favorite either. But I'm just saying, like, you just had movie after movie, like The Wedding Crashers, all those Vince Vaughn movies. All these movies were just popping out left and right. Action movies were on a decline. Comedy was everywhere, and everything was just super funny. And nowadays, humor is humor's at an attack. And with humor being on an attack, you have people either trying to push for the attack me, then I don't give a fuck. And then you have other people who are like, I'm going to try to follow what these people say, and they're just not that funny. Like, they don't get remembered.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I mean, like I said,
I guess with trying to be humorous, I think we're in a stage or a period or a time frame of life where this generation is trying to critique humor, try to twist it and change it into something else that it's either not, or they're not able to familiarize themselves with humor like we were growing up and like many other generations were growing up. Maybe this is just like a weird period of time where people of this age are just like, I don't know how to handle it, so I'll attack it. I'll attack it all. And that's always the wrong way to do it. It's not trying to find the good in it. It's trying to just say all of it's wrong, And I think that's what's happening at this point in time. I think in the future it'll change. We'll go back to what
maybe it'll evolve. Like I said, maybe humor can evolve to a new type of humor that we don't even really understand yet.
The thing is, it's not just like when you watch comedians do humor, they'll sometimes deprecate themselves. Sometimes you have to just look at humor and you have to laugh at yourself in your own situation. Sometimes things are just so stupid that in your own situation, you might not be able to change it, but you may be able to laugh at it to some degree. To be like, okay, I see where they're coming from. Maybe I can do something different or whatever. But there's a lot of times people make humor to just help you laugh at something.
Get over it.
Yeah, laugh at something in your life and help you improve. Sometimes there's times when you laugh at yourself or things you've done that are either different or, something you don't want to do. It helps you improve yourself. Sometimes laughing at yourself helps you improve yourself. So,
I don't think humor can ever go away. I mean, I just don't.
I don't think we should ever put it away. I don't think we should ever become total robots like the Borg and just turn into that stupid stuff. I think we need to find ways to laugh at ourselves to improve, or just to have something that, the fact is, you look, like you said before, plenty of women are looking for guys with humor. Why? Because they want it. Why do guys look for humor? Because we want it. Humans want humor. And a lot of times it comes from other people
We
doing
need it.
stupid shit.
It's not even just one. We need it. We need humor because
Well, yeah,
you know
that I meant to say need, but yeah, want is definitely a a part of it.
life is ever changing and life is difficult a lot of times, and humor's I mean, that's why I said humor comes in so many different situations. You can be you can be sad, and humor helps. You can be angry and humor can diffuse.
Well,
You can
humor glues
be
us
worried.
to each other
You can
in
be
that
worried,
sense.
and humor can help you forget your stresses. So many different areas and times and places. Humor is the one thing that it's like an anti-stress.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
like
mean,
it's like a imaginary pill. You don't have to pay for. It's, that's a good. I think that's a good description of it.
and I mean, it's true that I can understand. You don't necessarily need to have humor that's offensive. You don't need to have humor that's just criticizing other people. You really need to have humor that criticizes yourself, and helps you have a different outlook on how things are in your own life. It,
Hmm.
it's the same concept with a lot of these. Like, actually, it's funny because I'm going, with my mom passing away, I'm looking through all those photos, and I found a picture of my 1992, my Halloween costume. I am dressed as a Mexican. Dude, I got the poncho on, the hat, and even a mustache. And I said, it's sad that people would find this offensive because this is just so funny. My wife was cracking up. She said she's got to send it to her friend who's Mexican. It's just so funny. I mean, I'm a little kid, and the funny thing was, remember, the guy did that, and who knows if it's exactly true because it's just one video. But the guy did that where he asked people. He said, "Is this offensive?" And all these white people in the college were like, "Yeah, that's offensive. That's offensive to Mexicans." And then he goes into Mexico and he asks, "Is this offensive?" And everyone's like, "Nah, man, you look great. Like, you look good." You know, and that's the same concept of
I think the
do
fact
not
is
do not fight other people's battles.
that's
I
what I was
think
trying to
that's
say. Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing, because
If
I
it's
guess
not
I
your
understand
battle,
the concept of, like,
back the fuck off. It's not your
I
battle.
under I understand certain things like police brutality. Okay, we don't need just black people or ethnic people to be fighting police brutality. Police brutality is wrong. We all need to stand up to that, and I agree. But at the same time, like, when it comes down to, like, racial slurs and stuff like that, yeah, I think it might be best if you just let the race decide if it's not good or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've already decided certain words are not acceptable, and
I watched
we
a
don't do that.
video.
But
I was watching a Disney show one time. It wasn't a video. I was watching a Disney show one time where this girl came in and wore a geisha, and her Asian friend got really upset with her, saying, you can't wear that. And she's like, "Why not?" And she's like, "Well, it's not your culture." And I'm thinking, like, isn't it like respecting your culture to wear that? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what shows you the stupidity of some people, because they think, "Oh, you're not that culture, you can't do that." No, that's just basic stupidity.
That's absurd.
That's even
That's absurd.
you know,
If
even
you're
people
going
with
around, if
even
you're
people
going
with
around
mental
wearing
disabilities
geisha,
would argue you about that. And I know, because
if you're going around wearing a geisha and you're just acting racistly Asian, I guess I understand. Okay,
if you
you
were
probably shouldn't
wearing
fit
it
the
to
part
insult
of
it,
too.
if you're
But
wearing it
if
to
you're
insult
wearing
it,
the
that's one
geisha
thing. But if you're
because,
wearing it to
yeah,
compliment it or be like, "Hey,
if
I
you're wearing
really
to
like this. I want to
compliment it,
be a part of
absolutely
this,"
wrong. Yeah,
that's
let them
totally
wear
fine.
it.
Yeah,
That's
wear it.
honoring your culture.
Of
That's not
course.
disrespecting it.
If I was really into I don't know. If I was really into some kind of Japanese culture with this thing or that thing, and I, wore the robes and I wore katanas or whatever it was I wore because I really liked it, I would be showing them that I really enjoy their culture. I want to be part of their culture to the point that I'm changing my view that other people view me as to being a part of this culture now versus being a part of what culture I would be portrayed as. So when you're showing respect to another culture by wearing their gowns and being good and gracious and happy with that, that's a good thing. Now, if you're doing it to be disrespectful, that's a bad thing. The problem is, because I have to say this, shows that those people are very, very stupid. And it's just the way I just have to say it. Like, well, if you can't understand that, you're kind of stupid. And it's just the way it is.
Like, where the protest outside of a cosplay on at Comic-Con? Like, are you going to tell people they can't cosplay?
Yeah,
because they're dressed as
that's what
Asian
I'm just saying that people that
nope, no Sailor Moon characters are allowed here because that's a little too classic Asian. Like, come on, and that's what I'm saying. Even my Halloween costume, dressing up as a typical old school style Mexican on a Halloween, that's not being offensive. That's just having fun. You should be happy I picked your culture. What if I picked a Middle Eastern person and I wore, a headdress or turban or something? I don't know what.
We're all black. You can only see your eyes.
Well, that's what women wear. So,
I'm just saying, you pick something like that, you would get a lot of shit. Probably like.
Well, how would they know?
Not only did I pick your culture.
You think if I walked around in that kind of headgear, they would know instantly that I was the man? Like, how would they know? You think about it.
Well, you got your little mustache sticking out. They'll probably be like, yeah.
But again, that's what I'm saying. That's that stupidity of it, where it's like, oh, you can be whoever you want to be in this and that, but you can't. Like, you can.
Well, yeah, that's what some of those things. People would do ballroom. That's like in the past, people do ballroom masks and ballroom type of things. You'd wear all kinds of crazy shit, and nobody would know who you are. When it comes to Halloween, you wear all kinds of crazy stuff. Nobody really knows who you are. That just it's a fun time to just let loose and be what you want to be.
You hear what I said though just now? I think that's what's like the leading comedy right now is mocking hypocrisy. When
that's
people
what I'm getting to. Yeah, you're letting loose. You're making fun of yourself, or you're just going, F it. I don't care. I'm just gonna be what I want to be.
It makes no sense how you can say, oh, a person can be whatever gender they want to be. A person can if they identify as this, they can identify as this. And then as soon as somebody identifies it, unless they also are wearing like freak makeup and you think that they're like a freak, then you won't question them. If half their head is shaved, then you'll be like, oh, well, that person, that's how they identify as. But if they look like some regular guy who's like, no, I'm just dressing like this, they're gonna be like, that's not who you really are. And it's like, it's hypocritical,
Well, yeah, you gotta.
Honestly, like after I watch a good anime that's in Japanese, and like Samurai Champloo,
Every time you say that, I think of Samurai Shampoo.
Man, I want to wear those old. I want to get running. I want to try to run in those things. Shampoo.
Yeah, every time I think of Samurai Shampoo. I wonder if Samurai Shampoo works for everybody. This makes me wonder. I thought I'd throw something your way you couldn't answer. See, that's the kind of humor I like to do. Stuff that's just like, what? You just can't even figure it out.
Humor that makes me like, I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just gonna stop.
I don't know what you're talking about anymore. I don't care. Yeah, we went on for quite some time though. I think we should probably shut this down.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah. So what do you want to do next time? What are we going to do next week? Brain?
Well, do we want to talk about like death rituals and all that, or is that too morbid, or
No.
you perked up at your 2:30, my 3:30. You kind of made that face like, whoa.
Death rituals.
I mean, we can talk about like birth and death. And yeah, I can do a little bit of research of how other countries do it.
Yeah.
Cremation versus getting a giant pile of sticks and burning their body, and then I mean, Japanese, I think they light candles and put them on things in the water.
Do they light a fire under your ass?
Well, that's what like the Norwegians did, I think. They set you up on a giant thing. And
well, the Vikings would send you off on a pyre, your own ship.
You remember that in what's that show called? Where he has to shoot the raft and he's like keeps missing.
No, it's the Norseman. He's like, don't worry, I got it. I got this one.
He's like,
it's okay.
I got it. He's like, he keeps
it's
missing.
too far away now. He's like,
you want me to? Yeah, it's too far away now. It doesn't matter. It's not really that important. First season was so good. The second season really lost it. But Norseman, man, that was a funny show too.
Yeah, and the one wife wanted to, be so popular, she decided to get openly raped by the one dude so that she would be popular again. But then her husband never came to show up for him. That was a really weird. That was kind of terrible, and that was really weird.
I just think that's funny. The chick like has like penises around her neck and stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, I raped a lot of people."
Oh,
and
I actually felt really bad for her
like,
when she cuts
died. Off their penises after. But she's just like so open about it. Like her husband, like at that time was like completely okay. Like he doesn't care that she's raping people. There's no like, oh, be with this one person. Remember they like staged everything for him. When he's trying to have sex with his wife. And they're like, they're all like all in on it, like everybody's pillaging and everybody's doing it. He's like trying to make it feel like he's raping her to make it like he's like, it's just not working, guys. It's not working. He's trying to make it feel
the bad
like
guy with the one eye or the bald head.
Well, he just couldn't get it.
Oh, he had his hand cut off, and the one other blacksmith was trying to recreate a hand for him, and it just was like ridiculous.
Oh, that whole skit was funny.
He's like, gave you a hand. It's got a spoon and a fork. He got him a.
But I'm talking.
He was a paraplegic.
About when he was the guy was trying to be intimate with his wife, and he couldn't do it. So all the scene started out like you didn't even know what was going on. Everybody was attacking everybody, and he's trying to rape his wife. It was the one
dude that looked like he was from Smashing Pumpkins. How was it? One dude. He looked like the singer of Smashing Pumpkins, or like he was in the band.
Yeah, you're talking about the main guy, the Earl.
Yeah, the guy that lost his hand, and he had a spoon and a fork for his right hand.
But I'm not referring to him. I'm referring to the main character. I'm saying that when the main character first married his wife, the big guy.
He wasn't the main character.
Well, who would you say is the main character?
The prince. The prince that was in the hall waiting for his father to die. When the father was close to dying, they decided to stab him to death. He told everybody it was an accident. Then he also killed the the king's translator or the king's law
All right, fine. You
upholder.
can say he's the main character. I'm referring to the guy who went on all the pillaging things and the best Viking.
And he was
like
he was mating with
was like the
the
one
prince's
like-
wife, right?
And in the beginning, he's like, I really like your house and all this and that. He's like, I'll fight
Oh,
you
yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And he like,
He decided to take over the one dude's land. He's like, I'm gonna call Ulfiskar or what? What did he say?
Yeah.
That was, and then he just like
But you-
sliced the dude in half.
But you
and-
remember, he couldn't get intimate with her, so the whole town like staged a pillaging to try to make it like he was raping her because he thought that if he felt like he was raping her, it would work. He's like, I'm used to just raping people and stuff like that.
Yeah, he tried to live in the moment.
So
he got
like
the whole-
everybody's like attacking
whole
and all
crowd
that,
to-
and he's like on top of her, and it's still not working. He's like, you know what, guys, it's not working. You can all go home. Thanks for everything anyway.
You can all go home.
And like this, like she never gets any. Remember, that's all she wants the entire time is to get some.
Well, she
And,
wanted to
like,
be
nobody
popular
ever
and
hooks up with her.
Well, I mean, it's basically
They both
survival.
did. Both her and
Whoever
the
was most
blonde
popular
both
is-
did.
I
And
think
they
I
were
like
both pretty good looking, even.
the first part in the beginning of the show where they were gonna have the grandpas jump off the ledge, sacrifice themselves so that they could go to Valhalla or
We're
they could go.
65 now, and something like that. It's time for us to do it. Like, why? And they never do.
They're
Actually.
like, why? Why do I have to? It was so good too.
Remember they like run up. He's like, and he's like, you first. You go first. He's
But
like,
like
"Yeah, no,
the one
I-"
dude jumps and then everybody else sees what had happened. He's like, why do we have to do this? We don't really, I don't want to do it. And the one dude's like, well, just tell everybody you did, or
the whole concept of comedy. I mean, that's parody. Parody comedy.
Yeah.
The whole concept of comedy can just continue on forever and ever. The topic, can go on as long as comedy's going on. And I was going to ask you tonight. I said, what do you think the first joke actually was? Like, what do you think? I think the first joke was probably like when an arrow whizzed by some guy's head and he didn't die, and he probably laughed thinking like, I almost died there, but I didn't, like Samuel Jackson from Pulp Fiction when he says divine intervention.
He's like, I will rain down. What does he say? Upon thee. But like, one of my favorite parts is when he's like, can I have a taste of that? And then he's like, that is a mighty tasty burger. Do you mind if I have some of your drink to wash down this tasty burger? Like he just lets him do whatever, and then he kills him in the end.
That is a mighty tasty burger. Have a taste of your cold beverage to wash it all down with. But and I say it so many times, but there was divine intervention, because if you watch that movie enough times, when Samuel Jackson moves, there are 2 bullets in where his body. You see the outline.
I know,
of
I've seen
where
that.
the bullets were,
I
and
know.
there's 2 bullets directly.
But I
where
love
his
how
body
John
was.
Travolta just reacts to it. He's like, okay, it's divine intervention. He doesn't even care.
Yeah,
He's like the way he was with his wife and how he didn't care. I really like John Travolta's part there. Maybe the best.
Yeah, I mean, that whole movie.
And then he comes out of the bathroom,
First
he's
off-
just looking at him
First
like,
off, you had so many famous people in that movie. But second off, you would never see John Travolta and Samuel Jackson in another movie. Is there another movie with them in it together like that? I don't think so. They could do a whole
okay,
spin-off
not the
of
other
just those
guys.
two.
It's not the other guys. No.
Face Off? But
No.
Samuel Jackson's not in Face Off. You're
No.
thinking of Die Hard? Because that's Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson.
No.
Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson was so funny in
no.
that movie too. Samuel Jackson is funny.
No.
Like the Django Unchained.
No.
You ever watch Django Unchained? That's funny. Or the eight was not eight crazy, but
The Hateful Eight.
The Hateful Eight. That was a good
Sam
movie,
Jackson, Russell. No.
I feel bad for all the comedians we didn't mention in this entire thing because I mean there's just so many.
Yeah, there's definitely way too many to mention.
And then that's the thing. There's probably somebody that's so funny that I didn't even think of. You know, that we mentioned Bill Murray. Got to make sure I mention Bill Murray.
We didn't mention Bill Murray till now, but yeah, now we did.
Well, we mentioned him for a split second.
You never did. I never did.
We mentioned Chevy Chase.
But we never mentioned Bill Murray. No.
I said Bill. You can watch it again.
You never did.
It's all recorded, so
I bet you $20 you never did before this point.
I'll take that bet. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take that bet because I definitely said and Bill Murray.
Because I want I want $20. That'd be nice.
Because you said Chevy Chase and I said Bill Murray because I was thinking of Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. I mean, Bill Murray and so many other things.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I think Caddyshack was good. Groundhog Day, I don't remember too much, but What About Bob is where Bill Murray is a star.
And we really didn't give Robin Williams enough talk. I said I was going to bring him back up, but I didn't.
I know, neither of us really did. I felt really bad about that.
I don't think Robin Williams is ever that funny. That's the problem. I never really. I mean, I do think he's funny, but I can only take him in like small doses.
I think if you grew up with him more with the Mork and Mindy stuff, you'd be more appreciative of it. But when he got older,
my first Robin Williams movie was Jumanji.
Yeah, and that's just a movie, and it's okay. But he's not the main character. He's not the star. You know, he's just kind of there. I think the fact is, Robin Williams, if he was more of like a sitcom, like I'm Here All the Time, kind of like a Fresh Prince kind of thing.
What's that movie called when he's in the military and you wake up?
Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam. Good Morning Vietnam.
I don't remember that too much, but I know it was a decent one. You know?
Maybe think of Danny Tanner from Full House when I said Good Morning San Francisco.
I never got into Full House. Never did. I watched it because my mom actually liked it, but other than that, I never really...
What's his name is funny. What's his name is funny, though. He's another funny guy. We didn't even talk about any of the Daily Show and
well, that gets into political shit. But yeah, Jon Stewart, Craig Kilborn, Noah.
Well, you have Trevor Noah.
Yeah,
and then
Trevor
you have,
Noah.
Who was Steve? It was not Steve Carell. I always get them confused.
No, Steve. Steve.
I can't think of his name.
Steve. He's one of the better ones. I actually liked watching him for a while. I can't remember his name right now, though. But
That's so many people.
It's not Steve Carell. It's Steve. I actually got him on Twitter. If I can, no, I can't even pull it up right now. Anyways, but yeah, we should call it here, man.
Yeah, I think you're one of the funniest people I know.
Cool. I think you might be right.
I was hoping you were going to say that I'm one of the funniest people you know, but...
Oh, okay. Well, I think you are possibly one of the funniest people I know. That's cool.
everybody watching the show's like, the fuck are they smoking?
Not me.
If they went through this entire show and didn't laugh at all, I'm not surprised. Actually, I'm not. So
Well,
not.
I would be a little surprised. I think there were definitely some little bits of gold dust there that people would probably enjoy. So
They might have laughed, but at the like re-scenes that we reminded them from other funny people, nothing we directly said will actually make
well,
them
we're
laugh.
talking about what other people have said, so that's a big part of it, you know. Hey, you got to do your thing when you got to do your thing. And then when you're doing things for other people, you got to, emphasize that. So we are emphasizing right now. That's fine. That's cool. But,
So yeah, next episode will be probably about I mean, like I said, because my mom passed away on Wednesday, we can talk a little bit about death, and not just death, but like how different cultures handle death.
yeah, that sounds
And
fine.
I think also, just because that's such a simple topic, I think we can also bring up how different cultures handle life. One of the things I found out just the other day is that apparently kindergarten is like a full day now. Kindergarten used to be like 3.5 hours. Now it's 6.5 hours. Jeez Louise, these poor 6-year-old kindergarten kids gotta, you're 6 years old and your life is over. Time to grow up. So.
It's sort of a problem because then you don't get to experience too much life with your parents. It's mostly just teachers and other people that get involved, and then you learn from them. And the problem is they're being paid to teach you, not versus being you getting the nourishment from your parents to say, hey, I feel like this, I feel like that. You're learning from people that are getting paid to tell you what they're paid to tell you.
So there's
strategy.
no other comedians.
Strategy. It's always strategy.
No other comedians that you can think of off the top of your head that we didn't mention. And we did say Christopher Walken because he's so funny. But nobody else that you can think of. I'm trying to think. I feel bad if I don't mention somebody now, because we mentioned so many people. I don't want to have a feel about him.
I can't think of anybody else right now. It'll probably come to me next time if I do. I mean, I mentioned all the main ones that I like.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to go into anime, then it's a whole other topic to jump down. And unless I know their name intimately enough, I can't remember it. But
yeah, I think this is pretty good. I mean, we put Dr. Phil in our list of comedians. Really stretching there.
He was actually in Frasier, though. He was in Frasier.
You put Judge Judy on that, Judge Judy's funny.
Yeah.
We even put Trump on that list.
He can be, if you're not balls to the wall liberal, he is kind of funny. Depending upon how you feel about things. And depending upon how much research you've put into seeing what he said versus the competition and versus your own views. And
I just know as soon as
it goes a little
up,
bit beyond that. But
as soon as we hang up, I'm going to be like, oh, crap. As soon as I turn on Netflix again, I'm going to see something.
You're like, George W. Bush. I never mentioned him before. Oh, God.
Yeah. Leave all the comments, leave some comments. If you actually spent the last 5 hours watching our entire show, leave the comments of the people we forgot. And,
yeah, leave some comments. I'm sure we probably...
How could you forget? Gosh, I can't think of anybody else.
Not Bruce Lee, but one of his other cohorts. Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's
We
a
said
good
Jackie
comedian.
Chan.
I don't remember mentioning Jackie Chan.
I said Jackie Chan with Chris Tucker. I can't remember the movie. Shanghai.
I remember you saying Chris Tucker, but I don't remember Jackie Chan. But
Well, I
Bruce
was
Lee
saying
did some.
about-
Bruce
you
Lee
can
did a
watch-
little
you can
bit of
watch the show.
comedy.
We don't-
Brandon Lee, sort of comedic, and
I don't think Chuck Norris ever really did comedy.
yeah, he did.
Did he? Jeez.
Not directly though.
This doesn't count then.
You remember
Our
the
shit sucks.
you remember the video where they show him like
You were right. We destroyed comedy. We destroyed it. Watch our show if you want to never laugh again.
come on, man. Don't be so morbid. Okay. So before we end this, maybe you should do some boob jiggle and then we'll close this out.
Nah, they can just watch the Fatty Cluck if they want to. I'm not about to. Why? Because you saw that in the beginning of the day? I said I got to put a shirt on. I put it on for a reason. I'm pretty buzzed right now, man. I drank a lot of that rum.
Well,
Buzzing.
I would say goodnight to everybody, and if BC wants to do a little boob jiggle before we end it, then we'll
Nope. Good.
we'll close this out here. He doesn't want to do any boob jiggles, so I'm sorry. I guess we're gonna have to close out for the night. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed Coffee with the Crows, give it a like. Say something. Don't be a stranger. Tune in next week, or wait, we're doing this every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think we go into every 2 weeks.
Okay. So a couple of weeks from now, we'll come back with life and death scenarios and
Couple weeks, maybe a month.
a month.
Sorry. Well, this one was practically a month, honestly. Kind of skipped.
Well,
Had a lot of crap going on.
we had holidays and all that, you know. So probably a couple weeks to come back, do some more of this, have some fun, and hope to see you there. So have a good night, and that's all I gotta say. Anything else, BC? I'll leave it up to
We
you.
forgot to mention sow sauce.
Why? Was he gonna come up? You gonna show up for this?
No, because he's the funniest guy.
And okay.
Sorry. Never mind.
All right. Okay. Since we mentioned sow sauce, I guess we're done. That's all I gotta say. Good. Good night, everybody.
I'm not gonna make any more stupid jokes that aren't even funny. Never mind.
Okay. Well, have a good night, everybody. Subscribe if you want to. That'd be cool. I've got other game-related stuff too if you want to see it. That'd be nice. And we'll see you next time. Same channel.